This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate third part of What If Naruto was chosen by strongest Green Lantern ring. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
Uzumaki Naruto is my name. I am a Green Lantern Corps officer. Space Sector 2814. And the number of power rings here is getting really bad. I'm lucky to have 3 of them to train. With a, okay, now you try it, Naruto said. In front of him, dressed in their lantern uniforms, Sai, Sakura, and Hinata performed his exercise once more. Sakura used a beam from her ring to strike a nearby rock, then slowly levitated it and set it atop another nearby stone. Sai used a similar technique, causing 2 tree trunks to orbit one another with a mix of green light from his staff and indigo light from his ring. Though it had a very generic and unremarkable appearance, Hinata produced what seemed to be a human-shaped construct. That's a good start. Naruto-kun, I do not understand why you want us to begin with such basic tasks, Sai stated to him. It's all part of proper training to use the rings right, he replied. He was too eager to do nothing until their debriefing the following morning, even though he had been instructed to rest for the day. His adrenaline was also kept up by Sakura pursuing him across the Konoha skyline. After leaving the hospital, the 4 lanterns spent the remainder of the afternoon acclimating to the power rings at the training grounds. The Indigo Lantern retorted, but all 3 of us have shown that we can control the rings with much more sophistication. He held up the trees with his open hand to demonstrate his point. His staff's green light chipped away at the trunks, causing them to break into dozens of sharp splinters of equal size. Sakura-san. Ready, said Star Sapphire, who had pink hair. When Sai struck the ground with his staff, all of the wooden needles flew in Sakura's direction. She carefully blasted the remaining splinters with violet light while building a crude shield on her right arm that stopped roughly half of them. The rest of the flying fragments were covered in crystal and hovered near Sakura. She turned to face her fellow lantern and said, "Your turn, Hinata," instead. Dispelling her construct, Sakura directed the remaining wood encased in love towards Hinata and commanded her ring to launch an attack. The other Star Sapphire was directly in the path of the crystals. The girl with the black hair pointed her ring at the approaching attack. A few meters in front of her, she constructed a basic wall. It stopped some of the shards, but the rest broke through the thin violet light and proceeded to their destination. "Hinata!" exclaimed Sakura. To halt the attack, she raised her ring once more, but before she could do so, Hinata was confronted by a large green turtle. The crystals eventually stopped after penetrating far into the construct's shell. Sakura looked back to see Naruto pointing his own ring at Hinata as she dispelled the crystals. He dispelled his own construct as soon as he saw the wood chips fall to the ground. He said, "Are you okay?" To Hinata, "What happened?" "I'm sorry," she said. I thought I could, but..." "Of course you can," Naruto replied to her. "I mean, you put up a heck of a fight against me the other day." She said, "Sorry about that," once more. The bashful Sapphire twiddled her index fingers together, saying, that wasn't. "I believe Hinata is concerned about the possibility of the entity again manifesting itself," Sai speculated. "Yeah, but you took care of that," replies Naruto. He chuckled a little, but became uneasy when Sakura and Sai gave him curious looks. "You did, didn't you?" "Knock." Naruto grumbled, "Will you stop that? You're creeping me out." Sakura muttered, "It's not that loud enough to be heard." "Of course it is," said the White Lantern. "Ever since he got that purple ring of his, he keeps blabbering in that weird." Sakura reprimanded him, saying, "I don't mean him, you idiot." "There is nothing to worry about, Hyuga Hinata," Sai reassured her. "I can sense that the predator lies dormant within you. Its power has subsided and will pose no threat to those you love." Yes," she said with a squeak. Sai's words caused her cheeks to flush. Naruto said to her, "Okay, so you ready to try again? Just remember, the ring responds to your will." "No, it doesn't," replied Sakura. Naruto gave her teammate a curious look. He said, "Sure it does," to Sakura. "I mean, I get that its power source is love, but you have to will it to act, right?" Sai clarified, "Not quite, Naruto-kun. The emotion is both the ring's power source and its catalyst." "So wait. You mean that you have to feel compassion for your ring to act, and Sakura, Chan and Hinata need to feel love?" Yes, Sai confirmed, halting his use of the language of the Indigo tribe. Then he said to Hinata, "So all you have to is think about the person you like?" She stumbled, like, "Don't be shy, Hinata. There must be someone you really like to have gotten the ring," Naruto continued. Playfully, Naruto hopped over to Hinata and said, "Nay, nay. Is it someone I know?" with a playful prod. Now fully flushed, Hinata lowered her head and twiddled her quivering thumbs, saying, "Th. That's, I. 1. Naruto, you idiot," screamed Sakura. She hurried over and gave Naruto a head punch. Before he hit the ground, he spun around 4 times due to the force. "Naruto-kun," shouted Hinata. The sight made Sai wince. "Sakura-chan, that's cruel," Naruto said with a painful let-out. Sakura grabbed Hinata before she passed out and gently steered her a good distance away from the boys. "Sai, heal Naruto. Hinata and I need to talk, sapphire to sapphire." Sai came up to Naruto and threw indigo light on the Green Lantern. As Sai's light restored him, Naruto questioned, "What's up with them?" "I believe they are engaged in what is called gossiping. Your ring tell you that? I read it in a book." "Figures," shivered Naruto. Sakura pulled aside farther away, keeping Hinata out of Naruto and Sai's line of sight. She touched Hinata's shoulders with her hands. "I'm sorry," Hinata expressed regret. Sakura shook her head, saying, "Don't be, Hinata." She reassured her, "I know what's going on, so it's okay." With a look of surprise on her face, Hinata lifted her head to meet Sakura's and said, "I know who it is you love." S. Sakura-san. "How did?" She put her right hand over Hinata's heart and said, "The violet light allows me to see what lies in your heart." It was all Hinata's strength to keep from fainting. More than anything else, it yearns for him. "The star sapphire sees the purity of your love for Naruto. You have nothing to be ashamed of. A few years ago I would have thought you were crazy. But you saw what I've seen in him much longer than anyone else in this village," Sakura said, interrupting her silence. When Hinata finally said, "I want to help him, the burden of the green ring, and the darkness that approaches, he can't face that alone." Sakura agreed. "And now he won't," she said. "Whatever this threat you told us yesterday is, we will be there for him. You will be there for him." Hinata shook her head and said, "But I can't say it. I can't tell him. Not yet. I'm not strong enough." "Yes, you are." Sakura took Hinata's right hand and allowed the 2 violet rings to touch in response to her question, "How do you know?" The 2 star sapphires silently gazed at one another for a while before saying, "You were picked for a reason." Sakura gave Hinata a smile, which the latter slowly returned. "It's alright if you can't tell him yet. But if you want to protect him, you will have to show him." "How do I do that?" Sakura remarked, "By mastering the violet light, let your love for him shine brighter than the brightest star." Sakura encouraged Hinata, but Hinata remained silent. She started to have doubts, but she ignored them and allowed her feelings to fill her heart after hearing what her fellow lantern had to say. The violet ring she wore blazed brightly in return. The question, however, caught Sakura off guard as she allowed love to fill her. "Sakura-san. What about you? Who does your heart long for?" She started to say something, but then she was suddenly unable to do so. She looked out of Hinata's direction. When the shy girl caught a fleeting glimpse of Sakura's heart through her own star sapphire ring, she stiffened. "You. Nah. I don't know," added Sakura. She looked at Naruto, who was now fully recovered, and said, "To be really honest, I just don't know. But to answer that, there is something else I must do first." "Sasuke-kun," Hinata correctly predicted. "Your heart still longs for him." "I have to face him again." Sakura made a declaration. She paused, clenching her fist and allowing her ring to glow in unison with Hinata's. "Only then will I know what my own heart truly wants. Until then, the star sapphire and the predator will fill this void in my heart, so that I may battle hate and fear across the universe." "Not just you," Hinata remarked, displaying her ring and raising her hand to her face. "Sisters in light." "Sisters in light," Sakura said, repeating Hinata's gesture with a nod. Naruto and Sai witnessed firsthand how the 2 sapphires abruptly glowed bright against the training ground's twilit clearing. Large white belts bearing the corpse emblem materialized around their waists, and their suits changed to conceal the exposed portions of their chests. Then, despite their separation, the 2 male lanterns heard Sakura and Hinata speak as one, their voices harmonizing in a duet. "For scared and long lost hearts, for those by themselves on the darkest night. Come fight with us and accept our nin. Love overcomes everything." The light of Kunoichi, a dense crystal glade of violets, emerged as the very soil surrounding Sakura and Hinata burst. The flowers, preserved in love and frozen in time, glowed softly. Wow! Naruto exclaimed, blushing slightly. After that, Sakura and Hinata turned back to face the boys. With her hands firmly at her sides and her head held high, Hinata in particular walked upright. Hinata skillfully turned and used a whiplash of light from her ring to cut one of the flowers in response to the question, "So, you doing better?" She wrapped the violet in her beam and dragged it in the direction of the group before showing it to Naruto. He grabbed her construct and said, thanks. I'll take that as a yes, then." Sakura interrupted, "I think I'm done for the night." "What? It's still early, Sakura-chan. Sigh, and I just wanted to let Tsunade-sama know how things went, and that we're ready for tomorrow's meeting," Sakura stated to Naruto. "We are?" asked Sai, perplexed. Sakura gave him a gentle elbow. "Well, okay, I guess," shrugged Naruto. "Might as well join you." Sakura shook both her hands and her head, saying, No, that's okay. I think Hinata wanted to train with you a little more." I did?" muttered Hinata. Naruto looked at Hinata and asked, "Really? Alright, that sounds great." Sakura cut him off. "Come on, Sai, we shouldn't let Hokage-sama wait." "But, Sakura-san." The star sapphire quickly swept the indigo lantern away after enveloping him in a violet bubble before he could finish. Hinata yelled. Sakura-san. You're mean," to her sister Lantern. Sakura exclaimed from the sky, "You two kids have fun. See you tomorrow," as she and Sai vanished in a trail of light. Naruto pondered, what was that all about? Fortunately, Hinata thought, he was unaware of her flushed face. He turned to Hinata and said, "Wanna do it? Anyway, I don't mind staying a while longer." At his remark, Hinata squeaked and her face flushed. Huh? D.D.D.Do it? Yeah, train. Oh, she exhaled sharply. Naruto leapt a few feet into the air as the Green Lantern's aura flared up, asking, "I know. How's your flying?" Though she stayed on the ground, Hinata raised her ring and her aura also materialized. "What's wrong?" Her response was, "I'm not sure what to do." "Really? You flew pretty well when we fought." Hinata clarified, "That was the Predator's doing, I never did that myself." "It's pretty easy," Naruto informed her. He raised his altitude a little, hovered from side to side, and then descended back to solid ground. "It's kinda like walking, in a way. Just think about where you want to go and how fast. See?" Hinata paused for a second. "I don't know if." "Let's start simple," suggested Naruto. "Just think of going up." "Up?" she asked again. "Yeah, if it makes it easier, say up when you do. And since your ring responds to love, try picturing the person you like." "Oh, okay." After closing her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath, and focusing, Hinata raised her ring to the sky, up. 2. Hinata flew up as the ring obeyed her. "Quick." "Whoa!" Naruto exclaimed as he leapt back from the subsequent air rush. "Hinata!" she exclaimed. "Naruto!" Ku-yu-yu-un, from above. Following her, Naruto lifted off. As he got closer, Hinata noticed the green light getting brighter, so she concentrated on descending. Instead, the rest of her was carried away by her ring as it flew sideways. During her course, Hinata whirled around so much that she lost sight of Naruto. When she decided to descend once more, the ring complied by descending more quickly than terminal velocity. Just before she crashed, her trajectory leveled out, but it led her directly into the forest. Naruto blasted off the trees she did not see, and she barely avoided the ones she did see. She was pulled up out of the canopy and into the sky once more by her ring. When Hinata finally had enough, she considered stopping her flight. Her movement abruptly stopped, but gravity took over. She began to plummet out of the sky and screamed in terror. When a powerful set of arms grabbed Hinata by the back and legs, her uncontrollably falling body abruptly stopped. 2. Hinata. "Are you alright?" the Hyuga girl asked, looking up to see a masked Naruto holding her tightly in his arms. She saw the worry leave his face behind the emerald glow of his pupils. "That was close," he told her with a smile. 3. She kept thinking, Naruto.kun is. Don't pass out. Don't pass out. Don't pass out. Don't pass out, to herself. Hinata just nodded once because she was afraid to open her mouth and risk losing her focus. "How about we try starting very simple? Just think in your mind. Stop. That's the very first thing I did with my ring. Stop. Got it?" she asked. "Once you're set, I'll let you go gently, okay? Let me know when." The Hyuga girl repeatedly chanted her inner mantra, "Don't pass out. Don't pass out. Stop. Stop. Stop." She then visualized herself floating motionless beside Naruto. Naruto slowly released her after she nodded once more. When Hinata no longer felt his warm arms against her suit, she tensed up a little, but she continued to focus. "That's it. offered Naruto as encouragement. You got it, she said, relaxing a bit before allowing her mind to take in her surroundings. She was standing next to Naruto, and now they were both floating softly in midair. When she realized what she had done, a pleasant tingle went from her brain to the rest of her body. She smiled. I'm flying. Well, in a bit, asserted Naruto. Let's try something different now. Just point at me, and just concentrate on following my movements, okay? I'll fly around so you get the hang of it. Okay. Hinata quickly concurred. She focused on her companion's task and aimed the violet ring at the Green Lantern. Naruto said, "Here we go," before turning around and taking off from Hinata. The Star Sapphire found herself imitating him because of her mindset. I did it, she exclaimed with joy. Her flight faltered slightly due to her sudden exuberance, but she quickly regained control and focused. The suggestion from Naruto was to give it a little time. After a few minutes it'll become second nature. Then you can start enjoying it. With a nod, Hinata resumed her focus. She concentrated on Naruto, his flight path, and precisely tracking his trajectory. For the most part, he flew horizontally, occasionally arcing sideways or vertically to give her time to get used to turning while in midair. She initially disregarded her senses in order to maintain sight of Naruto. Over time, Hinata gave herself permission to let her thoughts wander just long enough to understand what she was doing. Her force field weakened just enough to let the wind brush against her head. Instead of hurrying up against her and whooshing past her ears, it felt soft and inviting here, holding her steady, unlike when she was jumping treetops during mission deployments. She inhaled deeply, allowing the air to fill her lungs. It smelled clean and fresh, with no hint of human, animal, or plant odors, and the wind was a little colder. Why was evident in her sudden awareness of what her sight took in. The buildings loomed over the village like tiny huts, and the few people who were still moving about were as similar as ants. Her pulse accelerated as she gave a quiet giggle. She looked ahead and saw Naruto dive into a cloud that was approaching. She followed him inside, feeling her face slightly moistened by the humidity. After emerging from the cloud, the two of them were once more coasting softly through the sky. Hinata said, Naruto-kun, thank you, this is enough. Naruto turned back to the Star Sapphire and asked, you want to head down now? 3, 4. Her response was a shake of her head. Now it's okay, Naruto-kun, she told herself. I no longer want to fly behind you. I want to fly beside you. Naruto gaped as Hinata blasted past him and up, illuminating the night with a burst of violet light and air. Whoa. That's it, awesome. He accelerated to catch up to Hinata because he didn't want to be outdone and didn't need to hold back any longer. She exclaimed, this is amazing. This time, Hinata intentionally dove straight down before leveling out and shooting into the woods surrounding the training area. With effortless ease, she and Naruto danced through the trees, zigzagging through each one equally while illuminating the path with lavender and emerald radiance. Just above the treetops, the two lanterns shot into the village in an arc. As they hurried through, many others watched from their windows, while those still outside pointed up at them. Until they reached the Hokage monument, the two kept walking through the streets of Konoha. The two flew past the facades of each cage, met at the monument of the third, and shot straight up, Hinata circling from the left and Naruto from the right. They paused collectively after a short while and gazed down at the village below. Hinata remarked, it's so small from up here. Naruto went on, yeah. Looks so peaceful, too, just think. It's our job to keep it safe, even more so now than before. The Star Sapphire glanced sideways at her companion and said, I know, and I'm ready for it now. Thanks to you, Naruto-kun. Hey, it was nothing. He shook his head in amusement. Hinata looked up as she eyed the village once more. The stars look brighter from up here, she stated. Naruto nodded, following her gaze. They do, don't they? He had never looked closely at the night before, but now it was more difficult to make out even the basic constellations because there were so many new stars. He was certain that some of them were grouped together in a moderately sized band that spanned the sky. Naruto looked up again, then down again. I wonder how high we can go. I'll race you, Hinata taunted, giggling in an unusually lighthearted way. G.Huh. Hinata shot straight up before Naruto could even do a double take. With a sly smile, Naruto ran after her. Without any arcs or zigzags, both lanterns flew straight up. Their lights glowed brighter the faster they flew. When two new stars emerged above and outshone the others, the villagers watching were enthralled. The two novas shot higher and higher, until they were just two more faint stars in the night, as the people watched. Beyond the clouds and through the gradually thinning air, Naruto and Hinata kept moving forward. Pitch blackness replaced the last of the faint blue color. but the sky was now dotted with an increasing number of brightening stars. "Wow!" exclaimed Naruto. Soon, there were only tiny dark patches left, and before him was a huge blanket of dazzling dots, each one a star that was brighter than he had ever seen. The band he had seen moments earlier now appeared as a great dark cloud in the distance, glowing with the scattered, ethereal light of the stars within. Hinata eventually overtook him and declared victory in their race because of the spectacle. 4. The star Sapphire turned around and smiled proudly, but she tensed up before she could speak. With an inaudible breath and a gasp, she raised her hands to her lips. Just in front of her, Naruto came to a stop. Naruto questioned the stunned star Sapphire. "What's wrong, Hinata?" He started to turn slowly. "Why do you look so?" The boy paused in the middle of his sentence and gave a little gasp upon realizing what Hinata was observing. 5. A circular patch of stars was obscured by a large, largely black sphere in the middle of the starry heavens. However, a faint, glowing smile that softly shone over the two ninjas appeared as a thin blue crescent slid up from southwest of the obsidian circle. Naruto hardly uttered the words, Where are we? What's that down there?" "Earth," his ring replied. "What? Your planet, your world, your home." "Buddha Konoha. Konoha is our home. Where is Konoha?" he and Hinata asked, simply gazing at the crescent, which seemed to be growing and occupying an increasing amount of the black mass. In response, the ring emitted a slender ray of light close to the top center of the black globe that was still there. Its green light grew a little until it illuminated a patch that was no more than a quarter of an inch across from Naruto. "That little dot? The whole villagia just that spot?" "Affirmative." Naruto asked the ring no more questions. Without saying a word, he extended his left hand as far as he could and completely covered the area. Then he raised his thumb and closed his fist. It was still able to cover the entire village on its own. He opened his hand again and saw that it extended across the whole fire country and portions of the wind, water, and sound countries. Everything he knew in his life, including his village, his friends, and all the places he had been on missions, fit in a space no larger than the palm of his hand. Artificial air supply established. Force field operating at interplanetary level capacity. Power conservation in effect. Currently holding present high planetary orbit, velocity 9,640 meters per second. Initiating standard planetary scan. Hinata finally said, "Naruto. Kuna," as she moved slowly toward the Green Lantern and hovered beside him. It sounded as though Naruto heard her in his head rather than with his ears, and her voice had a different echo. Planetary designation. Sol. 3 of Sector 2814. Local designation. Earth. Atmospheric composition. 78.08% nitrogen, 20.95% oxygen, 0.93% argon, 0.038% carbon dioxide and rising. Additional trace elements detected. Mass. 5.9736 times 10 to the 24 kilograms. Composition. Rocky silicate crust, surrounded by viscous mantle with solid iron core. Presence of life detected. Presence of multiple intelligent species confirmida. Naruto and Hinata were unconcerned with the ring's constant barrage of facts and arbitrary scientific data. Data and facts were one thing, but what they saw and felt was beyond the science and technology of the ring. What they saw was incomparable, and what they felt was indescribable. Yes, they had heard in school that the world was round. However, this they were aware that there were numerous planets in orbit around the sun, including Earth. However, this they had even seen some images that showed how the horizon curves when it is high in the sky. However, this the most beautiful thing Naruto and Hinata had ever seen was this unexpected sight, this shining oasis in the middle of a vast, empty, obsidian vacuum. The black sphere was completely encircled by the bright crescent in what felt like a matter of minutes. Now the whole of their home planet was visible to the two lanterns. Together, the interconnected streams formed a single mass, a clear blue ocean that resembled a clear sky from below. The snow was white and the clouds were silky, and the land that contained all of civilization and the wilderness was a murky brown with patches of natural green and faint yellow. All of the stars in the sky were obscured by the brilliant glow of this dazzling marble, which was blue, brown, and white. This jewel of Earth was hung up in the blackness of space, seemingly held motionless by nothing. The only two individuals to see the entire Earth's orbit from space are Naruto and Hinata. As the darkness gradually started to engulf the Earth once more, Uzumaki Naruto gazed with wide-open mouth. He did not know why, but his entire body shook, his spine trembled and his skin tingled. He tried saying anything at all, but his throat would not cooperate. His mind was full of inquiries. If the world is round, why does it feel flat? This darkness outside the world, what is it? How did the planet form? Did this black emptiness give rise to the rings? Is this the only one? Is there anything else? He found it difficult to understand his feelings as time went on and their orbit carried him and Hinata into the night side of the planet. Fear? Thrills? Ignorance? However, when the planet once again transitioned from night to day, the resurgence of the lovely sight shattered all his uncertainties and reduced his feelings to a single emotion. Joy. He could only be happy when he saw the world this way, in its entirety. His body relaxed, his heartbeat accelerated, and the cold dissipated in a pleasant warmth. It seemed as though happiness had encircled him like a physical blanket. His heart expanded, filling every strand of his being with unadulterated joy, and he smiled. When Hinata very gently reached to her side and intertwined her fingers on his, he was too preoccupied with his own happiness to notice. He didn't look at her until he heard a slight sniffle. Hinata. Hinata was staring at the earth next to him. Despite the fact that her right hand was resting against her smiling lips, she occasionally sniffed as tears streamed freely down her cheeks. What's wrong? You're crying. Hinata turned to face him, her smile and tears unabated. So are you, Naruto-kun. Naruto could feel the moisture behind his Green Lantern mask at that moment. Using his left hand, he lightly touched its tip before letting it disappear. His own tears immediately streamed down to his cheeks. Using his index finger, he picked one up and gazed at it for a while. He flicked it out into space without knowing why, and the liquid gradually turned into hundreds of tiny ice shards that glistened against the now full earth. We have to show everyone, he stated. Hinata said, yes, but can we stay here, just a little longer? Naruto looked at her, and the same joy he experienced was etched on her face. He gave another smile and gave a soft nod. Yeah. So they did. Transfixed, Naruto and Hinata circled their world with their hands clasped together. They remained there for many hours, silently admiring the beauty of the good earth. They didn't bother to keep track of how many times they went around the planet, or more specifically, how many times day gave way to night and back again. They simply watched in silence, giving their memories and emotions as much as they could. Deep down, they both knew that even if they returned, things would be different and they would never feel the same sense of wonder and happiness they did now. They just lived as long as they could in this moment. As they continued to circle the earth, it took Naruto a few seconds to realize what his ring was telling him. Warning. Power levels 15%. Initiating planetary re-entry. The earth was getting bigger. He was a little disappointed when he realized it was time to go back to Konoha. His own idea of home, however, had expanded beyond his wildest expectations as they descended. Until the earth was no longer round and the darkened night horizon stretched and started to revert to its recognizable straight appearance, the two lanterns kept descending involuntarily. However, the world's edge glowed as they started to touch the faintest facets of the atmosphere, and then the sun rose majestically over the horizon, illuminating the planet with all of its splendor in a sudden, intense burst of white light. Only below them did the familiar blue color of the seas and the heavens emerge, but the sky was still entirely black despite the stars' dazzling brilliance. That's when Naruto and Hinata realized that the darkness they were seeing wasn't the sky. It was an infinity view. And here was Earth, surrounded by a thin layer of air that allowed them to survive on its surface, somewhere in that boundless emptiness. He thought of another word to describe the Earth. Fragile. Despite its apparent size, the world was incredibly small and delicate in the vastness of the cosmos. Naruto lifted his ring high and declared, Earth. All of it. Everyone, and everything in it. I'll protect you. That's a promise. Believe it. While Father Sun's brilliant gaze and Mother Earth's tender embrace welcomed them back into her bosom. And in the very center of his heart, in the very recesses of his soul, beyond even the constant taint of the Kyuubi, Naruto hardly heard a voice say, thank you. Uzumaki Naruto is my name. I am a Green Lantern Corps officer. Space Sector 2814. Space is enormous. I'll have to investigate it someday. Not yet, though. I am now responsible for Earth. And I'll do everything in my power to keep it safe. The village of the Leaf's landscape was illuminated by the sun's first rays, which gave it a vibrant orange hue. As people started leaving for work and school, the ninjas gathered close to the main building to get their daily assignments. Tsunade, still feeling sleepy, limped to her office and took a seat at her desk. Fortunately, Shizune had made her morning tea. In order to sharpen her awakening senses, the Hokage eagerly took a sip of the warm broth. She whispered to herself, the four should be here soon, so she went about her morning routine before the others showed up. Shizune also brought a newspaper, which Tsunade unfolded. With her right hand turning to the appropriate page, she reached into her left pocket. She scanned the lower left box on the printed sheet in her ticket. Bah, she sighed. She threw the lottery ticket in the trash can after tearing it into 4 pieces. From behind her, a female voice exclaimed, "Lost again, Tsunade." "Sama?" The student was floating in midair, surrounded by a violet aura, when the Hokage turned around in her chair. Sai also came up behind Sakura, who was likewise bathed in the power of the lantern ring. "As usual," said the Hokage. Sai and Sakura landed in front of their leader after hovering through the window and saying, "Come in." They retained their individual uniforms, but their auras faded. "You changed your uniform?" Comparing it to her new uniform, which completely covered her torso, Sakura replied, "I found the old one to be a little too revealing." "If I may ask, Hokage." "Sama, it is my impression that you continue with this luck-based ritual of yours despite the overwhelming odds," Sai said to her superior. Tsunade beckoned him away, saying, "Don't be such a sour puss, kid. My number's bound to come up someday." Sai stopped when the Hokage loomed menacingly over him. "If you say so," he replied, "but I find it strange. This book I read mentions that gambling addiction can give the elderly the impression that they have higher odds of winning when the only determining." Her frown said, "You calling me old, brat?" Sai let out a loud gulp and had to support his suddenly trembling feet with his indigo staff. "Fear," echoed his ring. "Eh? Ha ha ha, it's all right, Tsunade." "Sama," Sakura said, laughing nervously and restraining the blonde. "Don't take him too seriously. Sai is still socially clueless." "Oi, Sakura. Chan, Tsunade. No Bachan." At the sound of the shout in the distance, the Hokage and the 2 lanterns turned around. 2 trails of green and violet light came down from the sky and came toward the office out and above the village. Sai surmised, "Those must be Naruto and Hinata." Sakura remarked, "Naruto's up early. That's really rare. I wonder what Hisa." Sakura was about to finish when 2 enormous hand constructs materialized out of nowhere and surrounded the 3. Naruto jumped in the center of the arms and drew them near. Sakura didn't realize for a moment that he had embraced them all tightly. Hinata's aura brightened at the sight as she landed softly behind him. "Naruto?" inquired Tsunade. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, Bachan," was his response. "Everything's great." He released them, but the young lantern grinned joyfully while Tsunade, Sai, and Sakura continued to gaze at him with questioning eyes. In his words, "You won't believe what just happened, Hinata and Iya, what we saw, where we were." Sakura questioned him, "Are you sure you're alright? Your eyes are red? Have you been crying? Sleep deprivation?" Hinata said, "Yes to both, Sakura-san. Naruto-kun and Iya, it's too beautiful for words," to the assembly. Sai speculated, "So you were up all night doing something, I surmise, and given your highly blissful attitude, it must have been enough to perpetually change you emotionally." "You don't know the half of it, Sai," Naruto informed him. Hinata nodded in agreement. "What we did, it took our breaths away. I've never been so happy in my whole life. It felt better than when I got my forehead protector," he said, tapping the metal band on his forehead. "And better than when I first got the ring." He didn't notice Tsunade and Sakura exchanging anxious looks because he was so absorbed and his memories were so vivid. Tsunade nervously asked them, "Uma, how to say Thisa, did you two at least you know it protect yourselves?" "Oh, yes," said Hinata. Sakura turned a bright red at the statement. "Our power rings supplied us everything we needed. They let us enjoy the experience fully, without reservation." She sounded embarrassed as she said, "Hinata, what we talked about, I didn't mean for you to take it that far." Naruto assured her, "Sakura-chan, it's okay. In fact, we were thinking next time you could all join us." Sakura and Tsunade would be in near convulsions, unconscious, and drooling messes after reading Sai's comment. "Hama, I never considered coitus with multiple people, but it sounds like it would be a pleasant, empathic experience and an efficient team bonding exercise." Naruto's comment would have left them reeling and staring in horror. "Huh? Coitus?" inquired Naruto. "Well, are you not talking about that particular activity?" Sai went on. He gave Naruto a wink and a thumbs up, adding, "From the book I read, I believe the correct term is congratulations, you dog, giggity." By this point, Hinata also realized what the 3 believed they meant, and she gasped, blushed violently, and fell onto a hastily summoned crystal chair construct. Naruto remarked to him, "Dude, Sai, I have no clue what you're talking about. Hinata and I just flew so high we were able to see the whole earth." Sakura and Tsunade both exclaimed, "Wait, what?" "Yeah." Naruto evoked a huge green globe of earth above the group's head to clarify. He showed them the continents of the planet's western hemisphere and said, This is how our world appears from high above. Konoha is right here, as a tiny point on the sphere glowed brighter. And there are tons of unexplored regions over here, he continued. Sakura exclaimed, oh. As her blush vanished. I thought you and Hinata never mind. That's amazing. Naruto reassured her, oh, this is nothing like seeing it in person, instead. Sai said, that does seem very impressive. After turning to face Sakura, he stepped in her direction and said, perhaps later they can show USA. Sakura interrupted him, saying, don't come anywhere near me, you pervert. Alright, everyone, settle down, Tsunade said, clearing her throat before interrupting. While she marched back to her seat, Naruto dissolved his construct, Hinata stood up shakily and dissipated hers, and Sai and Sakura stepped up to the other two, Sakura being careful to keep a safe distance from Sai. Exciting as it might be, sightseeing can wait until later, but right now I'm more concerned about other negative consequences these rings could bring. Hinata began by asking, what do you want to know, Tsunade-sama? It was good of you to ask, the Hokage remarked. She gazed at the two-star sapphires, her pupils narrowing. Sakura. Hinata. Are you in control? They gave a prompt, clear response. Yes, she said, leaning back in her chair, good. Which brings me to my next order, tell me everything you know about the powers of your rings, their weaknesses, and about their core. The voice emerged from the shadowy shape and said, this meeting will come to order. Inside a sealed cave, 8 humanoid silhouettes stood around a single dim torch, summoned by a common jutsu. While the others were paired together, the 2 tallest were alone. One of the voices asked, where's that Uchiha kid? As Zetsu put it, Uchiha Itachi has betrayed us, Hidan. The bastard got his hands on a ring similar to the Kyuubi brats, and he wasted no time in using it, stated Kisame. Deidara frowned, just what we needed, HN. Those damn rings sure know how to pick him. A target and a defector. We're in for a real ride, HN. Zetsu went on, there's more, despite the limitations of the space. Time projection jutsu, the plant. Like Akatsuki produced a shard of stone that glowed a faint violet after saying, I'm scouting around the fire country, and I found evidence that another power ring may have manifested. I found an entire forest of these crystals, and there were ample signs of a battle at the epicenter of the site. The statement, a violet ring? That makes 3, was made by Kakuzu. And there may be more, continued Pain. Rumors have reached a megacure of inextinguishable crimson fires in the night, and of a burned-out crater near a location we believe held one of Orochimaru's hideouts. Kisame inquired, so you think another power ring wielder killed him? Or claimed him, HN. Hidan snorted and said, this is so screwed up, as Jashin. Sama's favored servant, I should be getting one of those rings. Hidan turned to look at his partner scornfully and said, PSH, I doubt they choose blind zealots. What the hell is that supposed to mean, shithead? You'd only rain destruction. Such power should be used carefully and with meticulous calculation. No country could pass up a mercenary of such might. Hey, always thinking with your wallet, Kakuzu, Toby chuckled. Maybe there's a special ring given out to zombies like the 2 of you. I swear, one day, Tobiya. Enough, Pain interrupted the debate. It is true, if more rings manifest, we would be at a great disadvantage. We must learn more about the nature of these rings, and if we cannot claim them, then we must destroy them. That sounds fine and dandy, fearless leader. When do we start? Toby asked. Perhaps I can assist with that, a fresh voice said abruptly from within the room. Everybody's gaze shifted to the empty area next to Kisame, where a second shadowy figure appeared out of nowhere. However, there was a slight yellow aura surrounding this one. You, cried Deidara. Itachi, Pain blurted. As we have all seen, the powers of the rings are all centered on the manipulation of light, Sai said. All rings grant their users the ability to fly and generate force fields for personal protection. Aside from that, each ring has certain differences in their power. The green light is the most malleable and easily controlled, however based from Naruto's earlier reports, it can be weak against the color yellow and the yellow power ring if the user experiences fear to make willpower falter. My indigo light by itself can only heal physical injuries, but because compassion is empathic, it can mimic the light of any other ring in its near vicinity. Sakura followed with her own ideas. The star sapphire's light can also generate constructs like the green ring, but it can solidify permanently until consciously dispelled or destroyed. So far it doesn't seem overly weak against any of the other lights, though I suppose it comes at the cost of it being harder to control. And all rings require a periodic charge to keep their power levels up. I have to mix my own wool with my chakra to keep my ring powered up, said Naruto. I can recharge my ring using my staff, However, I feel that the light of compassion is scant and may be hard to collect. Tsunade inquired, where do your power levels stand now? The four lanterns said, ring, power check, and then they ordered their rings. Power levels 13% was the response from the green ring. Power levels 86%, the indigo ring stated. Power levels 100%, both Sakura's and Hinata's rings declared. Hinata remarked, that shouldn't be right, its charge should have diminished after practice yesterday. As Sakura speculated, but we have a portion of the love entity within us, its presence must be keeping our rings fully charged. When Tsunade said, that's one bit of good news at least. From what we've learned, each ring is utilized by a respective core whose purpose varies according to the emotion tied to the respective color, Sakura went on. Willpower with the Green Lantern core, Itachi's yellow fear with the Sinistro core, compassion with the Indigo tribe, and love with the Star Sapphires. Each core's mission and purpose must be similarly tied to their emotion, said Hinata. Tsunade remarked, the goals of the Green and Sinistro core appear to be sufficiently obvious, order versus chaos. I'm more curious about the Star Sapphires and the Indigo tribe, however. How so? Inquired Naruto. Love and compassion sound positive to me. No disrespect towards Hinata, but you saw what the Predator did in the name of love, Tsunade replied. As for compassion, to be honest, I'm wary of it having chosen one of Danzu's agents. Compassion strives for empathy, Tsunade. Sama, Sai stated. I understand your reservations. I was chosen to better empathize with emotions, mine and others, that I may better share goodwill with Konoha and the greater world. Tsunade started by saying, so that makes 5 rings out of 4 core, yellow, green, indigo, and violet. Naruto jokingly said, sounds a lot like a rainbow. The others speculated as to the Hokage's destination, but he was the only one who laughed. Naruto.kun, you mentioned to me once that in that dream you had, there were 7 animals and 7 colors, correct? Sai responded to the Green Lantern. It took him a little longer to understand Sai's true meaning. Yeah, why? Sakura questioned, red, orange, and blue core. Could there be other rings out there? And if they are, what emotions do they represent? If the pattern we've seen holds, I suspect red and orange represent negative emotions, while blue a positive one. Naruto remarked, give me a sec, Bachan, ring, are there red, orange, and blue core? Error. Partial memory core corruption, unable to process request. He grumbled, oh, come on, ring, not this again. I feel the rest of our rings are similarly corrupted, replied Sai. For some reason I cannot empathize, they must have been damaged before we became their bearers. You said the light of compassion granted you knowledge, Sai.kun, Hinata responded. Would you know anything about these? Sai grasped his staff with both hands and lowered his head at her suggestion. He was so focused that his eyes glowed indigo. Then he calmed down and said, I'm sorry. I can only empathize with an object or life form that I am in contact with. So this leaves us with 3 unknowns. The Hokage launched into the statement. First, we have Itachi, still at large, and in possession of a ring whose purpose is to spread fear and destruction. Second, the 3 missing emotions and core. Finally, there are the other entities. Surprised to see me? Save it, if you came here to gloat? Kisame snarled. Next time I find you I'll tear you to pieces. As I said, Kisame, I harbor no ill will towards you. Do not force my hand against you again. Yua, hissed Kisame. Pain said, what do you want, traitor? To the newcomer. According to Itachi's image, is it not obvious? I've come to renounce my membership to Akatsuki. When it was no longer restrained by the projection jutsu, he removed the organization's ring from his finger and let it fall, where it vanished from the room. I belong to a new organization now, one that will allow me to fulfill my own goals with more precision. Don't tell me you went to Orochimaru or some other mercenary group, Toby yelled. The Sinistro Corpsman responded, not at all. As you have already guessed, Orochimaru is no longer a factor on the world stage. Pain said, did you? Itachi went on. Someone got to him before I could. There was a faint note of concern in his voice, despite the jutsu's garbling. But he no longer concerns me. The Sinistro Corps has other plans for this world. Plans that do not include Akatsuki. The what? What? Inquired Hidan. The creators of the Yellow Rings. An organization that spreads far beyond the small confines of Earth, whose purpose is to impose order through instilling great fear on all life. Deidara laughed and said, PSH, any of us could do that. What's so special about you? Itachi replied, you cannot incite or spread fear as much as I already do. Perhaps if you were more renowned, the ring may have chosen any of you. But as it is, the rings choose who they choose. myself, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and any others they may elect. So there are other rings out there, Zetsu gave proof. Itachi pronounced, none of which will fall into your hands, none of you can instill great fear as I can. Besides, you are all just toys, pawns to a megalomaniac who cowardly hides in the shadows and refuses to step into the light. Toby chuckled and said, oh, don't be so kind. Please, sneered Kakuzu. We all know why we're in on this. World domination one way or the other. True, but if one of you has their way, even you will be mindless slaves to his power, Itachi replied. He sneered at the leader, Pain. What's the hell's he talking about? Not him, said Itachi. Him, he added, gesturing toward Toby. Deidara questioned incredulously, Toby. Except for Pain, Zetsu, and Toby himself. The other members all laughed when asked, did that ring make you insane too, HN? Not at all. Why don't you tell them, Toby? Or should I Saya Uchiha Madara? What do we know about them? Not much, sadly, said Hinata. The predator within us is the manifestation of love, born from one of Shino's Kakaichu. Itachi had parallax, but I don't know if it was the real thing or just another of his illusions, said Naruto. Turning to face him, Sakura posed another query. What about the willpower entity? Ion. No idea, was his response. I know what it looks like but I haven't met it in person yet. We don't know if it or parallax even exist yet, replied the Hokage. The predator was born only a few days ago. As Sai suggested, Naruto.kun, can you vividly recall the dream you had? Perhaps you can show us the form of the other entities. Can't make any promises that they'll be exact, but here goes, he replied. Recalling the 7 entities from his nightmare, Naruto aimed his ring forward and projected images of them. The predator, Ion, and parallax matched what each of them had seen at some point, despite the fact that they were all green, unlike in his dream. The predator's image was given its true violet hue by Hinata and Sakura projecting their own light onto it. This confirms it. There's 3 other core out there, and each one has its corresponding entity that embodies the emotion, Tsunade continued. Naruto, what colors were each of them? This bull was red, he remarked, gesturing to the object on the left. A well-built, robust bull with 2 pointed tusks and enormous crooked horns, its mouth foaming with a foul smelling liquid that the ninjas were unable to identify due to their ignorance of its actual color. Naruto went on to describe a long, coiled snake with recognizable, scaly eyebrows that reached to a kind of circular sigil on its forehead. The creepy snake was orange, he added. The bird next to Ion had a circular hollow on its chest, and a line extended from its border to its long neck, supporting 3 joined faces with long, sharp beaks. Parallax and Ion are yellow and green, obviously, while this 3-faced bird was blue. He concluded by saying, and this weird tentacle thing matched Sai's color, alluding to the 4-tentacled squid whose interior was inked with the sigil of the Indigo tribe. I know this entity, Sai pondered as he got closer to the squid picture. He illuminated it with his light, bringing out its authentic indigo hue. Or at least, my ring does. Tsunade asked, do you know where it is? The response from Sai was, I do not believe it exists yet, its name escapes me as well, but I feel that given time, I shall meet this entity. But if the core have existed for some time, how come their entities are newborns or don't exist at all yet? Sakura raised her eyebrows. Naruto went on, and how come I dreamt them up if they don't exist? I'm a great ninja and all, but I'm no fortune teller. All valid questions, which we have no way of answering without more information, Tsunade concluded. The only way to do that would be to either wait for your rings to self-repair, which would take longer than I would like, or, she took a moment to think. Or what, Chan? She concluded by saying, make contact with the different core directly. The lanterns tensed up a bit. Then Sakura hesitantly said, you want us to seek out the green, violet, and indigo core? Not quite, said the Hokage. Remember, you 4 are still first and foremost Konoha ninjas, and you still have duties to fulfill to the leaf. Naturally I would expect that any missions you take on in the future would be quickly carried out with your new powers. However, I would encourage you to send out messages from your rings to other lanterns from your respective core. Perhaps there's others out there that might listen and be able to explain more about everything. It is vitally important, though, that you also keep an eye out for any of the other entities, and if found, contain them at once. Sai and Sakura saluted. Yes, Hokage. Sama. Naruto nodded and smiled. But, Hokage. Sama, Hinata reluctantly interrupted. What is it, Hinata? She tensed up a little and brought her closed fist to her face, saying, I'm not sure we may be able to contact the star sapphires. When she remembered the eerie, foreboding vision of the dead that her ring had given her, she stopped herself, saying, "The ring. It told me the Sapphire's home was destroyed. I saw." To which Sudane replied, "Another mystery to solve, and all the more reason to keep an eye out for the other core. They may know something about these undead, for lack of a better word." I hope not," said Naruto. "I didn't sign up to fight in a zombie apocalypse or anything." "You have your orders. Until then, resume your regular mission schedules. Dismissed." The four lanterns replied, "Yes, ma'am," and vanished in a burst of light. Madara. Deidara laughed, causing his image in the chamber to waver. Maintaining the projection jutsu required some focus, and Itachi's claim made it even harder to keep it in focus, on top of the usual confusion caused by seeing a cave and rocky, sunlit terrain at the same time. He couldn't resist joining Hidan in his crazed laughter. "You're saying that this Joker is the greatest prodigy of the Uchiha clan, HN?" he asked. Kakuzu blasted, "That ring did drive you delusional," without bothering to join in on his partner's joke. That clumsy, sad excuse for a ninja only wishes he were that deadly legend. Toby yelled, "Hey, I'm right here," and blew Kakuzu away. "You deny it?" inquired Itachi. His shadow self was blurred by a yellow patch of golden light as he aimed his power ring at Toby. "Please," Toby said, dismissing the lantern. "Even if I were Uchiha Madara, which I'm not saying I am, mind you, your image can do squat in this place." The wall behind Toby exploded in a deafening burst of yellow light as the ring flared, asking, "Can't it?" Deidara's body nearly collapsed back onto the outcropping he was in as all of the Akatsuki's images glowed and warped. When he channeled the jutsu again, his view of the meeting chamber gradually returned to focus, revealing that Pain and the other Akatsuki members had suffered similar harms. Only Itachi stood composedly, his ring arm still pointing in Toba's direction, his amber-tinged face unfazed. "How?" inquired Hidan. Calmly, Itachi replied, "As I said, I am far beyond any of you now. Now, Madara, are you ready to talk?" Deidara looked at Toby in both his real body and his jutsu. "He's kidding, right, HN?" their respective selves exclaimed. In the chamber, Toba's projection gazed back at Itachi while his body gazed off into space. He asked, "What is your goal now, traitor?" His voice had changed from being a mockingly high-pitched squawk to being deep, commanding, and resounding all at once. Together, Deidara and the younger Akatsuki recruits gasped. His true self whispered, You're really, Uchiha Madara, HN?" "My goal is what it always has been," Itachi stated. "I wish for the safety and peace of Konoha." Madara shot back, "And your little brother? He's probably lost without his master. All he'll want is to find and kill you. What do you think seeing you like this will do to his already worn hate-filled heart?" the Uchiha legend said after Itachi remained silent. With a casual reply, "He will still fear me," Itachi said. "Just as all of you fear me now, and just as the whole world will fear me soon enough." "To what end?" asked Madara. At this point, nobody else in the room dared to interrupt them. Itachi responded, "If you know my personal goals, then why need to ask, Madara?" Despite the large presence of notorious killers and criminals in its ranks, the true goal of the Sinistro Corps is to impose order through instilling fear. All I have done, everyone I've killed, it was all in the name of peace. The death of the clan spared Konoha of the greater calamity of war, and with this ring, I will impose everlasting peace on this world. "You seem to forget the other lanterns that have claimed rings of their own," Madara replied. "The Kyuubi Jinchuriki and his allies will attempt to stop you." Itachi remarked, "So as I expected, there are other corps. I welcome their attempts. They will find that fear is the greatest weapon in the universe. Even Naruto. Kun's willpower shall fall against the might of Parallax's emissaries. Once they know my true goal, they might even join me as guardians of the world." "You are a fool, Itachi," insisted Pain at last. "Akatsuki shares that resolve a final, everlasting peace. Why make enemies of us, when together we could fulfill our mutual goals extremely quickly?" "Because not even you know Madara's final goal, Pain," Itachi shot back. "Why don't you tell them of your plan? The Eye of the Moon?" Madara grunted for once. "How did you? You were not the only one spying on the others' activities." Hidan shot. "What's he talking about?" Madara looked around and saw that Pain and everyone else were staring back at him. He remained silent. Itachi did it for him when it became clear he had no intention of speaking. He intends to combine the nine-tailed beasts into a single being, and use its power to cast a Tsukiyomi on the entire world with the moon as his Sharingan. Every living being will be under his control for all time, mere shells commanded by his will. Deidara shouted, "Are you shitting me, HN? All you Uchihas are the same with you and your damn eyes. The real Deidara leapt Madara, ignoring the projection jutsu, but he only phased through his body just like it wasn't there. What the? I didn't sign up to let this old fart turn me into a puppet, Hidan said. There's no profit in this venture, Kakuzu snarled. Madara shot back, don't listen to this traitor, he's already lied and betrayed his country. What makes you think he's not lying to us now? Maybe I am, admitted Itachi. And yet you lied about your true identity as well. A man of your ambition and renown does not share power, Madara. You lied to me, Madara, Pain said, his own Rinnegan getting smaller. This is not why I founded Akatsuki, and why I accepted your help. Madara said, so, you would all betray me too? To the crowd. In a rare instance of her attending a meeting directly, Conan asked, you betrayed us first. Who is the traitor now? There was a spooky silence as everyone in Akatsuki stared at Madara, occasionally turning to look at the Itachi in the yellow outfit. Madara added, very well. It matters not, at the end. I still have access to Geto Mazo. I can still carry out my plan alone. Bastard, said Deidara. His image started to fade in the room as he concentrated so intently on the actual Madara's form beside him. And as for you, Madara said, pointing to Itachi, consider my promise to leave Konoha alone null and void. I will capture the Kyuubi Jinchuriki myself, and claim his power ring. The green light of willpower will not serve the likes of you, Itachi stated. But I will not allow you to harm Konoha, or the Green Lantern. The Sinistro Corps has plans for him. Your threats are empty, Itachi. You cannot harm me, all I have to do is. Suddenly, Madara's image vanished completely from the cave room. His abrupt departure caused the other ninjas to gasp. But Deidara was the most shocked. Beside him, a slender ray of yellow light pierced his partner's skull from behind. His mask and the rest of his head burst out at once, scattering brain matter, ichor, and blood across the rocky landscape and onto Deidara. The blast was so strong that the renowned Sharingan eyes themselves turned to crushed jelly. Deidara, who knew a lot about explosions, could not think of anything to say. Standing there, he watched in silence as his comrade's body sagged dead onto an expanding puddle of blood. The moment's abruptness, the bang's briefness, the kill's completeness. He was trembling uncontrollably. Itachi's surgical accuracy astounded Deidara. This was art. It also frightened him. It is done, declared Itachi. Uchiha Madara is dead. Dead? Asked Kisame. How? Stuttering, that's impossible, Zetsu said. There's no way, that easily. Deidara said, he's not kidding, as he regained his composure and used the projection jutsu once more. I saw it myself, and I'm certain this was no illusion, HN. I've got chunks of his head still on me, HN. Itachi declared, as I previously stated, I am now beyond any of you. As his image vanished from the chamber, he said one final word. Farewell. The Sinistro Corpsmen vanished, leaving the rest of Akatsuki alone in their fear and silence. My warning is this. Do not interfere with my plans, and make no attempt to harm Konoha or the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. I bear the rest of you no ill will, but if you try to stop me or my corps, you will meet Madara's fate. Hidan's voice was quiet for once as he asked, so what the hell do we do now? With Madara dead, we can still carry out the original plan to capture the Biju, Zetsu said. Deidara questioned, but once we do, then what? Not to mention Itachi would attack anyone that approaches the Leaf or the Kyuubi, HN. According to Kakuzu, we can still capture the Hachibi. With 8 beasts, we might be able to subdue even Itachi and the Kyuubi. With a growl, Kisame said, and I'd still like to take a stab at Itachi, ring or not, even if he kills me. I want to give him something to remember me by. Pain pronounced, Kisame and Kakuzu were correct. We cannot let this unforeseen development derail us from our ultimate goal. It is true, Madara's death and Itachi's acquisition of a power ring severely complicates matters, but we must prevail. Peace rests upon it. As his true self was washing his cloak of Madara's stains, Deidara's shadow asked, so what do you propose we do, HN? Uchiha Itachi's newfound strength stems from his power to instill great fear, Pain stated. Pain's vision went around the room, stopping at each of his co-workers, saying, if we are to prevail against him, we must make him know true fear. Kisame, Deidara, the two of you wish revenge upon Itachi the most. You are to join together and seek him out. Engage him if you believe you can take him, but do not be reckless. Now you're talking, Kisame remarked while slamming his fists together. I'll make sure he sees my greatest art, HN. Deidara's hands licked their lips with both mouths. Hidan challenged, and what about us? You're just gonna leave us to rot? Of course not, explained Pain. Hidan, Kakuzu, I have a very special mission for you. There is only one thing that would instill fear onto Itachi. You are to seek out Uchiha Sasuke, capture him, then join with Kisame and Deidara. His little brother will be our leverage against his power ring. Zetsu, your task is to find both Uchihas and report to us the moment they are detected. Kakuzu inquired, and what will you two be doing? Conan and I will capture the Yanbi ourselves, in preparation for the final phase of Akatsuki's overall goal. Afterwards, we will all gather in Konoha, and capture the Kyuubi and his lantern allies. At least the gain is worth the risk. We get the Biju and all the power rings. With them, we will be all powerful. You misunderstand, Kakuzu, Pain clarified. Even Conan stared at the leader's suggestion, saying, our goal to harness the Biju's power remains the same. But as for the power rings, we will not use them. We will destroy them, and extinguish the lantern's light. Are you crazy? Yelled Hidan. You'd snuff out weapons such as those? What the hell's gotten into you? I hate to agree with the zealot, but he's got a point, HN. Imagine the art we could do with those things. My decision is final, Pain commanded, raising his voice for the first time. Any additional opposition in the room was instantly put to rest. You will carry out your orders to the letter. Fail, and the consequence will be worse than death, is that clear? The majority merely nodded. Zetsu was the only one to respond orally, simply saying, yes. Dismissed. Every member disappeared from the room. Deidara focused all of his attention once more on his own body and the corpse of Madara beside it. Now what the hell do I do with this, HN? After the projection jutsu was removed, Conan said to her partner, Nagato, may I ask you something? Pain looked at her and gave her a nod of approval. I must admit, I am at a loss as to why you want to destroy the lantern rings. Such power would greatly aid our goal of peace if we were to acquire them. Pain responded, that is true, as the two returned to their headquarters at the summit of Omegacure's tallest structure. He stopped once they were inside and out of the never-ending rain. But I sense their presence will only bring calamity to our world. What do you mean? Pain clenched his fist tightly, surprising her. Ever since Zetsu's initial report, there has been this certain unease. A constant distraction, a worry, that preoccupies me. As reports of more rings come in, the sensation only grows. Behind the power of the rings lies something dark and sinister, something I cannot explain, but am convinced that it will only bring ruin to us all. Nagato. Conan uttered worriedly, how do you know this? He replied, that is my biggest worry. It's not me. When he turned to face her, Conan saw the face of someone they had lost, not Nagato, for the first time in years. She swore for a moment that she saw the crystal blue eyes of Pain replace Rinnegan. Tears filled her eyes and she whispered, Yahiko. Pain just walked away without saying anything. The carcass of a recent kill was consumed by a predator deep within the shadowy canopy of a distant jungle. The murderer smashed the crocodile against a nearby tree after dragging it out to solid ground by its tail. The skin of the corpse split open and the bones cracked. While its killer knelt in front of the carcass, the crocodile fell scattered into a mess. The figure reached into the body with gloved hands and tore out the heart. He hissed, tell me. He drew the motionless heart near to him and bit it viciously. His hands and legs were covered in fresh blood, which mixed with his own that he was holding in his mouth. He spit out what was in his mouth after crushing the organ and allowing its blood to flow into a thick pool directly in front of him. When he put his crimson ring on, the blood boiled and bubbled, and the ungodly mixture steamed and bubbled. He snarled, Itachi. With his eyes fixed on a human-shaped pattern in the blood and another lantern symbol nearby, the red lantern questioned, We're. On a mountaintop far from any nation, Uchiha Itachi threw away his most intricate creation to date. As swiftly as it had been constructed, the massive sphere-shaped apparatus with its numerous monitors, dials, and interfaces vanished into a haze of light and retreated into Itachi's ring. This machine performed better than I expected, he stated. He brought his hand to his face as the final construct entered his ring, saying, its firepower pierced between the dimensions and was able to strike Madara even as his body was shifted. A golden image appeared over the head of the ring, and even with the occasional distortion, the mustached face of the leader of the Yellow Corps could be clearly identified. It seems I am in your debt. Your advice was most helpful, Sinistro. One of the voices from his ring replied, you did not disappoint. It is good to know at least one Earthman truly knows how to manipulate fear. Perhaps there is potential for your species yet. Your disdain for humans aside, I have confirmed that there is only one Green Lantern here at this time. This Hal Jordan you speak of is nowhere to be found. When Sinistro said, then we are fortunate, neither Jordan, nor the rest of his corps or any other corps for that matter, has discovered the link between our universes yet. Itachi's words were as much a question as they were a threat. How do you wish to proceed? No doubt you heard my ultimatum towards my former colleagues. Since Jordan and the alley rat do not exist in your backwater world, I have no quarrel against it, or that little hamlet you call Konoha. However, there might be suitable candidates for me to begin the creation of a second Sinistro Corps, one that will be alone and unopposed as it spreads from Earth out to your universe to impose order in an otherwise infinitude of chaos. I will see for myself soon enough. Then, as I suspected, you are making plans to inspect this dimension? With a sooner than you think, Corpsman, Sinistro replied. I have already reached the exit of the gateway between realms, and... Suddenly, a thick crackle of static interrupted Sinistro's voice. Sinistro! Exclaimed Itachi. Ring, compensate. Even Itachi felt a little uneasy as the static subsided and Sinistro's voice echoed again. Ryu. Te. FRSHZZZ. NK skin. Y. Ill not defy M. The ring erupted in a loud whistling sound and a deafening explosion. There was nothing after that. Sinistro? Asked Itachi. His only response was static when I said, come in. Sinistro, can you hear me? Sinistro? A different, distorted voice cut through the hiss and said, False Sinistro is indisposed at this time. Who are you? Inquired Itachi. Despite my reservations to interfere, I cannot allow further incursions, or further deaths, the voice continued. The sound gradually removed the static, but no image appeared. What have you done with Sinistro? He is not dead, if that is your concern. Just like you, his survival is vital for the stability and well-being of existence. Itachi's interest was slightly aroused by the voice's response. How so? Uchiha Itachi. It is time that we speak. Lur Orikte Sai. Luca. No. Sai crossed his legs and hovered over the floor of his bedroom. He held his indigo staff vertically in front of him while keeping his eyes closed. Slowly, swirls of indigo light encircled him as he attempted to communicate with the other members of the Indigo tribe and obey Tsunade's commands. His ring said, Message not sent, once more. Sai let out a sigh. Why? He inquired again. Its response, as in the previous 3 instances, was, no Indigo tribesmen in observable universe. Sai gathered himself, closed his eyes again, and tapped into the light of compassion. One more, then I shall retire for the night. He mentally recited his previous mantra, introducing himself to any other lantern and pleading with them to respond to his call under the guidance of compassion. Lur Orikte Sai. Luca. No, in his mind, he heard, what are you doing? Sai. The lantern recognized it instantly, overcoming the momentary surprise. He said, uncertain for a moment whether his master would hear him, Danzo. Sama. I was. He gave a prompt response. The words, I care not for your burgeoning, troubling individuality. At least, not at the moment, were cut off Sai's train of thought by Danzo. Listen well. I have a very important mission for you. Uzumaki Naruto is my name. I am a Green Lantern Corps officer. Space Sector 2814. I've been wondering lately if I'm alone. I had no luck getting in touch with anyone else in the Corps, not even in nearby sectors. Although Tsunade.no. Bachan will be disappointed, there isn't much I can do right now. Since Sakura-chan and I have today off, we thought it would be a good idea to continue our training. After his team's assistance against Itachi, Neji, who was recuperating nicely, requested a rematch with a lantern. Konoha Senpu. Rock Lee leapt low and gave Naruto a vicious spinning kick. The lantern lowered itself. Konoha Reppu. As soon as Lee made contact with the ground, he spun once more and delivered a low, sweeping kick that Naruto narrowly avoided with a hastily called, up construct. He was lifted off the ground by the force of the impact, but Naruto quickly flew up before he crashed back. He unleashed 3 armored wolf constructs that attacked Lee once they were sufficiently separated. The construct immediately changed into a chain that encircled Lee's right arm after Lee squarely punched the first one in the jaw. As the other 2 wolves charged at him, they also resorted to the metal chains that bound his left leg and torso, fixing their other ends securely to the ground of the training ground. Those chains are pure willpower, thick. Brows, Naruto clarified to him. No way you're breaking them even with your freaky strength. Lee yelled, I don't need to break them, Naruto.kun. And yanked firmly on the chains that were fastened to his arm and leg. His strength tore them completely out of the ground, but they held together. With his newfound freedom, he tore off the 3rd one as well. He then spun around, untwisted himself, and threw them back towards Naruto, all of them with soil attached. The Green Lantern, not to be outdone, swung the chains back at Lee's location after diving beneath the attack and reattaching them to his ring. Although the ground was cratered and the soil was broken by the whiplash, Lee was already yards away when the attack occurred. Sakura was surrounded by Tenten's kunai, which the Star Sapphire skillfully avoided or blocked with her own violet creations. Tenten continued to apply pressure and draw bladed weapons from her enormous scroll. In response, Sakura expanded her aura into a sphere and thickened it before lunging directly at her sparring partner. Sakura's new defense caused Tenten's weapons to bounce harmlessly. Sakura said, "It's over, Tenten," as she pressed closer. She smirked and said, "Not quite. I have one more surprise I custom built especially for lanterns." She used her scroll to conjure a huge iron ball, which she then hurled at Sakura. She commanded, "Kai," and the sphere's front half opened, releasing dozens of tiny drills that dotted Sakura's aura. The drills, powered by Tenten's chakra, eroded the lantern's defenses just enough to cause her crystalline aura to crack and become slightly weaker. As the final chakra on each bit exploded tiny payloads inside them, Tenten needed it all. Together with Sakura's abrupt surprise, the force of the blast was directed entirely into the force field by specially made iron casts at the back of the drills, shattering it completely. Tenten pressed the attack button at that moment, unleashing a barrage of bladed weapons towards the helpless Star Sapphire from the rear of the first summoned sphere. Sakura instinctively shielded herself from the approaching metal rain with a thick, solid shield of crystal, but she quickly realized Tenten's real attack after blocking most of it. The kunai that had missed the shield turned inwards as the weapon specialist twisted her wrists. In response, Sakura caused her shield to enlarge. The crystal stayed solid and immobile. The kunai got closer. It was too late for either of them to block the attack by the time Sakura noticed her construct was hardly changing and Tenten gasped. Sakura would have been impaled alive if it weren't for the green armor that suddenly engulfed her. "Sakura!" shouted Tenten. Lee said, "Sakura-san, again." As he threw aside his construct and Sakura did the same with hers, Naruto muttered, "Just barely." Innocently, the kunai dropped to the ground. "Sakura-chan, what happened?" I'm not sure," Sakura replied after regaining her footing. She recreated the shield once more, then her face strained slightly, but her construct stayed the same. "I wanted the shield to grow to protect me better, but I couldn't. I don't understand." "Weird," said Naruto. He made the same shield, then started to shape, twist, and distort it like putty or jello. "I can do that no problem. But remember yesterday we were saying that the rings were slightly different. Maybe mine can't change constructs." "Not surprising," said Tenten. She added, "Look at this. It's solid crystal," while tapping the violet shield. Naruto shook his head, saying, "But that can't be right, then. When I fought Hinata at first, her plant constructs grew." Sakura attempted the exercise once more with the same result. Yet she was fully possessed by the predator. "Maybe its powers are what allowed her to do that, but our rings can't do that normally. I'll keep trying in the meantime until our next training. It's getting late." Naruto sulked. Come on, Sakura-chan, we can still go a few rounds." When she said, "I think Sakura-san has the right idea," Naruto-kun, Lee concurred. "You too," Tenten pointed out, "and so does your stomach." Then Naruto heard it rumble, and he laughed uncomfortably as the others laughed at his expense. Naruto's hunger was sated by the group's quick ramen meal at Ichiraku. Tenten had to pull Lee away to prevent him from sparring with Naruto directly outside the store, and the girls said they had enough training for the day despite his and Lee's entreaties. Thus, Naruto used the occasion to replenish some of the ring's energy. After taking a moment to catch his breath, he said, "Ring," and then, "Power check." Power levels 57%. Since it was still a bit early, he chose to quickly fly over the village. "That'll have to do for now." He got to his feet without thinking, and soared out of Ichiraku and into the air. He grinned and said, "I'm definitely getting better at this." He felt a pleasant sense of fulfillment when the villagers who were wrapping up their daily tasks waved at him and encouraged him once more. One young girl let go of the balloon she was holding because she was so happy to see him. Naruto grabbed it right away and went down to give it back. "Here you go." The girl exclaimed. "Thank you, Green Lantern-san." She kissed him quickly on the cheek before he realized it, and her mother smiled at him noddingly. He said to her, "Be a good girl, okay?" After giving a nod, the girl and her mother left. Whispering to himself, "I'm really getting too used to this," Naruto got back up. As he did, he saw the brightest stars in the sky growing darker. He turned to face the Hokage monument, then arced back and started to fly straight up, saying, "Might as well try to contact the core again before turning in." He heard, "Green Lantern." A moment, from below, in midair, Naruto spun around to find a masked, cloaked ninja crouching atop the third Hokage's effigy. "Sure. What's going on? The masked ninja said in the same monotone. You are to give up your ring and come with me immediately. Naruto's reaction was less restrained. Screw that. Who the heck do you think you are? He shouted. You can't be one of Bachan's Anbu. I expected this response, the unidentified ninja remarked. Commence operation. From the shadows of the monument in the village below, dozens of Anbu wearing various masks and cloaks emerged. They hurled paper tags fastened to kunais directly at Naruto with lightning speed. The Green Lantern deflected them by expanding his force field just in time. The tags adhered to the aura, but the knives themselves bounced away. Naruto sent the tags back to his assailants after selectively expanding his force field. Some just puffed, but most, as he had anticipated, exploded harmlessly. The summoning tags gave rise to more weapons, but these showed up inside his shield. In an instant, Naruto spun around and formed a second bubble around himself. Midori Kaden. Naruto's spinning sphere was struck by the Anbu weapons, which then bounced back towards his assailants. Others were struck by their own kunai, while others ducked. More Anbu emerged from behind the monument as Naruto halted his spin. Kaden. Gokyaku no Jutsu, Doden, Doryuden. A giant dragon's head spat thick jets of moist soil in the direction of the Green Lantern as the ground at the top of the mountain muddied. 6 Anbu simultaneously threw huge balls of flame in the direction of the lone ninja. Naruto wasted no time in building a thick shield to thwart the attacks. A direct counterattack was prevented as more mud and fireballs crashed into it. He could see more attackers coming up behind him. Naruto turned his ring behind him and said, "Try this," without taking off his shield. His depiction of the snake's emotional entity sprang from it and quickly hit every Anbu that was approaching. Longer and longer, the construct then spun around, coiled around the flames and mud bullets, and gaped at the casters of the jutsu. In order to avoid the enormous snake, which collided with the dragon and completely ate it, they had to give up and halt their attacks. Shishi Engine. All around Naruto, a sickly purple, dark box appeared, severing the snake construct from the ring and causing it to vanish. The cage flickered but held when Naruto aimed a thick laser at it. Damn it. The blonde ninja then had to descend as the jutsu started to fall. They soon found themselves on a deserted village street. The cage's top and sides continued to descend while the bottom dissolved. 4 ninjas in masks stood just outside it, summoning the prison with their outstretched arms. The first Anbu said, "Lantern, surrender yourself in the ring, and you will be released." Naruto retorted, "You're with that old fart Danzo, aren't you?" He shouted, "Midori Gatsuga," and slammed the ring directly onto the street, saying, "No deal." The Green Lantern vanished into a winding drill that churned and dug the ground. The other root ninjas swelled the cage to the bottom and yelled, "Stop him." But Naruto had already left. Wera, the lead Anbu root, felt a rumbling beneath his feet before he could think anymore. The Green Lantern erupted from where he had been standing a few seconds earlier, and he narrowly avoided it by jumping sideways. Naruto immediately constructed a catapult beneath the leader as soon as he touched down, throwing him far away. After giving himself permission to chuckle, Naruto made a pair of binoculars and noticed that the squad leader had landed on a filthy hog sty that appeared to contain green pigs due to the tinted lenses. That oughta make some angry birds happy, he thought. He threw aside his theories and watched as more Anbu charged at him. Naruto got up and flew into the forest behind the Hokage monument, with the other Anbu root ninjas pursuing him closely. Can't stay fighting here and risk damaging the village. "Hey, morons, over here," Naruto exclaimed. "Hinata, Sakura, Chan, Sai, this is Naruto. If you can hear me, I need help ASAP. Communication with unsanctioned ringwielders is forbidden." Naruto stared as he dodged several fireball jutsus, asking, What do you mean unauthorized?" "Non. Green Lantern communication requires Guardian authorization." Naruto frowned and said, "I'm not even going to ask and wait for your stupid error. Ring. Send out an urgent priority.1 distress call as far and wide as you can." Complying. "This is Uzumaki Naruto, Green Lantern of Sector 2814. I need immediate assistance. I'm being pursued by special ops teams of my own home country, and they are seeking my ring. To any Green Lanterns in range, please ya." In front of Naruto, more squads leapt from the treetops. With a halt, the lantern pointed his ring at them. "Ninpo, Shintenshin no Jutsu." Abruptly, his body tensed, then relaxed. Despite the protests of his mind, he dropped his ring arm, and the other members of the Anbu squad surrounded him. His mouth said, "This is truly something," even though he didn't force it to. "Prepare for capture. I will remove the lantern ring and..." GAAH. Another person's intrusive thoughts screamed in agony. causing Naruto's mind to reel. Although he was unaware of it, he could sense that his body shared it. The Kyuubi's savage, roaring voice suddenly merged with two unknown voices, and the three of them shouted in his head, "Get out!" Immediately, the intruder fled his body, and he regained control. He asked himself, what the heck was that? "Fu!" shouted one of the ninjas. "Forget about me. Get him!" exclaimed another. The other ninjas immediately jumped into action, but Naruto was quicker than them. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Dozens of shadow clones, each one equipped with the original's ring and representing each opposing root ninja, appeared around Naruto and confronted his adversaries. The clones built structures of every size and shape, including enhanced projectile weapons from the Metal Country, katanas, kunais, toads, and dogs. The Anbu root ninjas were under constant attack and struggled to stay out of the way of Naruto and his clones. The members of the root squad told themselves, this is not possible. If I can't contact the real core, my clones and I will be it. You want me, you jerks? You got me, and all of the Green Lantern Corps. Warning. Power levels decreasing rapidly. Power levels 36%. Fu shouted, keep up the pressure, he can't sustain all those clones with powers for long. The authentic Naruto roared back, I don't need to. With his ring aimed high, he unleashed a massive beam that split and rained back towards the ground, hitting each of his assailants square in the face. Together, the root assault team fell back into the forest, with Naruto trailing closely behind, quickly assuming a ready stance. He grinned and asked, who wants some more? The lantern's attack left the root ninjas motionless and unconscious. A voice said, hello, Naruto-kun, from behind him. Naruto looked back and saw that, at least in part, his plea for assistance had been heard. Nice of you to join the party, Sai, said the man. Show these guys a little of what compassion can do. He responded, pardon me, my friend, will. A dazzling burst of indigo and green light engulfed Naruto as his last vision. As Naruto gradually regained consciousness, his head ached. His vision returned, and he was alone in an open, dark room. When he attempted to stand, he discovered that his legs were bolted to a metal chair and his hands were bound behind his back. Although he fought against his restraints, the knots were securely fastened and strengthened by unique containment jutsus. A voice said, he is awake, echoing through the room. Naruto looked everywhere but couldn't find the source. He heard the soft sound of wood on stone. The room echoed with a steady thump, each one making Naruto more uneasy. His uniform materialized as he concentrated his will. When nothing happened, he gasped, it's a Werdita. From behind him came an older voice that said, you will not find your weapon here. Naruto felt a sharp pain shoot up his arm as a wooden stick pressed firmly against the back of his wrists. Then the unidentified individual approached Naruto. You're a Danzo? He felt a second shock travel up his arm and through his body. According to the elderly man, I will be the one asking the questions. Uzumaki Naruto, holding Naruto's chin up, he raised his cane. Despite his ragged breath, the young ninja returned the glare. He pointed his unbandaged eye directly at Naruto and said, where's your ring, Green Lantern? I only have one question for you, and the sooner you answer it, the sooner you can go back to being a loyal Konoha ninja. Naruto's adamant expression became perplexed. Danzo's cane gave him a loud thud to the face in response to his own question. What did you say? The seat moved a little even though it was bolted down. Danzo said, again, in the same almost informal manner, where is the ring? Naruto came to the realization, you don't have it. The cane hit his cheek once more. Naruto spat blood and then smiled at Danzo, saying, again. He prepared for another blow, but Danzo only tapped his cane on the ground once. Sucks to be you, then. The palm of his hand was then lightly touched. Afterward, it became numb. He cocked his head as far to the side as he could as the numbness crept up his arms, and he just managed to make out a figure behind him. The figure clasped his hands together before he could ask. In flaming pain, his arms almost ripped apart. Instinctively he tried to pry them loose, but the tight knots sank deep into his wrists and held fast. The throbbing pain caused his arms to convulse violently and his entire body to tremble. His anguish filled the chamber as a desperate cry arose from his throat. And the pain ended as quickly as it had started. He continued to breathe harshly but steadily. A lingering sensation lingered in his tender arms as he gazed at the ground, eyes wide open. Danzo said, this is Torun, of the Aburame clan, as he paced slowly in front of Naruto. He has a very interesting and unique jutsu even among his peers. Unlike his kinsman, Torun's Kakaichu are microscopic, and can poison you slowly at a cellular level. As you no doubt can tell by now, this is an extremely effective interrogation strategy. And don't worry, Torun has the antidote, so I don't expect there will be too much long-term damage, he said in a neutral tone. Naruto uttered the words, you bastarda. Danzo went on, now, once again, as he came to a halt directly in front of the blonde ninja. The ring, if you would be so kind. Come closer, murmured Naruto. Danzo stooped to look directly into Naruto's eyes. Bite me. Danzo straightened up once more and let out a sigh. He said to the ninja behind the younger one, don't let me down. As the numbing sensation returned to his arms and then extended to his legs, Naruto bit his lip. He was unconscious after 5 seconds. When Sakura finally completed her nursing duties at the hospital, she was met by a slightly overcast afternoon sky. She was excited, but exhausted. Neji would be joining Team Guy for their planned training session today. She smiled at the idea of the four lanterns training together once more because Hinata, Sai, and Naruto were all free. Sakura felt her ring's smooth surface as she reached into her pocket. She put it on while stealthily ducking into a side alley. She took a deep breath as her heart grew full of love as her star sapphire uniform materialized all around her. She felt an extra heartbeat for a brief moment. She put her hand on her chest and remarked, now I know how Naruto feels like. I hope you're comfortable in there, Predator, because you'll be staying asleep for a long time, she said, half seriously. She looked up again, and a dazzling burst of violet light blasted into the sky. She heard someone say, Sakura-san, wait for me, from behind. When Sakura turned around, she saw a second woman who shared her violet aura. Hinata. What a coincidence, heading to the training site. Yes, nodded the Hyuga group. Neji. Nissan met Lee-san and Tenten-san and should be arriving at the training site shortly. Sakura remarked, we better not be late. Then, together, the two lanterns drove off toward the training area. Sakura saw Hinata fly straight ahead, gazing forward, with a bright ring and steady aura. You seem to be adjusting to your ring quickly. Oh, yes, responded she. Naruto-kun is an excellent teacher. Sakura grinned. I bet he is, she said. S. Sakura-san, hurriedly, Hinata flushed. Sakura laughed and said, I'm just teasing, you Hinata, but I mean it. You seem more in control and confident with it. The Hyuga lantern remarked, I still have to master it, Neji. Nissan and I sparred for a while this morning, and we were evenly matched despite my new powers, she continued, gazing straight ahead. Jokingly said Sakura. Hinata noticed a faint smile of pride as she spoke. Did you beat him eventually? No, before we could continue. OTOU. Sama asked me if I could help with some overdue repairs to an older section of the clan compound. That's too bad, then. Hinata shook her head and said, it's alright, in a way, I'm happy. How so? Hinata then turned to Sakura, who was taken aback by the unexpected brightening of her ring aura. Neji. Nissan and I barely noticed him, even with our Byakugan. But I do remember his face. Oto. Sama was smiling. Hinata. Muttered Sakura. Hinata arced down and landed on the training grounds before she could finish speaking. Sakura followed her fellow Sapphire down, grinning to herself. Team Guy was already there when she touched down. Sakura laughed as Tenten asked, ready for round 2? You bet. I have a few ideas I want to try out. Hinata inquired, where is Naruto-kun? I imagined he would be here by now. It's not normal for Naruto to be late, especially when he is excited about something, Neji said. The idiot probably overslept, sneered Sakura. Lee said, calm down, Sakura-san. I see him. As he gestured toward the sky, the entire group noticed a green line of light encroaching on their location. Tenten remarked, that's better. She opened her mouth to continue, but the streak continued past them and continued on. What the? Naruto-kun? Hinata quickly took off and flew after Naruto. Wait up, Hinata! Sakura shouted, getting up to follow her. From the ground, Team Guy followed suit. The two sapphires gasped as they approached the green light's source. The ring? Asked Sakura. Fatal error. No green lanterns in observable universe. Unable to deliver message. Unable to locate replacement. Sakura's voice was a little raspy as she said, if the ring is by itself, is Naruto? No. Hinata encircled the green ring with a thick layer of crystal. Despite its strength, Hinata's power kept it in check as it collided and smashed into her construct's walls. Team Guy caught up to the two sapphires as they fell back to the ground. What's wrong? Inquired Neji. Sakura mouthed, it's just Naruto's ring, he. Lee stumbled, that's impossible. Naruto-kun. Hinata said, ring, find Uzumaki Naruto-kun. Subject Uzumaki Naruto located within a 10-kilometer radius. Unable to pinpoint location. Unidentified energy field hampering scan. He's alive. Neji exhaled pleasantly. Lee inquired, but what happened to him? Fatal error. No Green Lanterns in observable universe. Unable to deliver message. Unable to locate replacement. The ring asked Sakura, what message? Play it. Communication with unsanctioned ringwielders is forbidden. Hinata retorted, you have no choice, in a firm voice that none of the others had ever heard her use. There are no other Green Lanterns to hear it, and no one else for you to pick as a replacement. So deliver your message, and let us save your ringbearer. Sakura said, Hinata, after observing Hinata's response to the circumstance. For a while, the Green Ring didn't say anything. This is Uzumaki Naruto, Green Lantern of Sector 2814. I need immediate assistance. I'm being pursued by special ops teams of my own home country, and they are seeking my ring. To any Green Lanterns in range, please. Naruto's jumbled voice abruptly rang out for all of the assembled ninjas to hear. The message abruptly ended, and the ring fell silent once more. Tenten asked, special ops teams? You don't suppose Anbu? The answer was, impossible, Neji said. Hokage. Sama fully supports Naruto, she would never permit. Danzo, snarled Sakura. Him and his Anbu-root bastards. They tried to capture Hinata once when she was unconscious, and now they've got Naturo. Who? Inquired Lee. An ultra secret division of Anbu headed by Shimura Danzo, a former candidate for the Hokage position during Sandaime. Sama's time, Sakura clarified. Sakura punched the ground, leaving a noticeable crater, and said, they answer to no one, not even Tsunade. Sama, except to him. Sigh. That bastard. He's probably in on it too. That's why he's not here either. We have to notify Hokage. Sama right away, Neji recommended. The others sensed that he was also concealing his anger and worry, despite his typically neutral tone. Neji. Nissan, please do, exclaimed Hinata. Her and Sakura's ring auras flared as she said, but I'm going after Naruto. Lee volunteered, wait, you'll need backup, there's no time, mentioned Sakura. Tell Tsunade. Sama what's happened. She may know where Root's hideout is, we'll find him. But, objected Lee. Tenten said, understood. Good luck, to her fellow Kunoichi. The two sapphires vanished in a flash after she and Neji nodded and took a step back. Then Tenten turned and leapt to the closest tree toward Tsunade's office with her Junin comrade, but they halted when they noticed Lee was still upright. Tenten said to him, Lee? Come on, we have to get to Hokage. Sama. Lee ran off after 2 lanterns before Neji or Tenten could object, saying, the two of you go ahead. It would be against my Nindo to leave Hinata.san and Sakura.san alone against an entire Black Ops squad. His teammates cried out, Lee, but before they could get their cries out, he had already left. Midway through the flight, Sakura asked Hinata, so how do you propose we find him? Hinata was still holding Naruto's Green Lantern ring, which was enclosed in a crystal construction she had made, as they closed in on the village. She said, I don't know, in response. Danzu's goons must have some special jutsu that's distorting our ring's scans, Sakura thought. We'll have to search house by house. Hinata objected, saying, that will take too long, Sakura.san. Sakura was forced to stop as she halted and hovered in midair. Saying, he's strong, Hinata, Sakura consoled her fellow Sapphire. He'll hold on until we can find him, she said, placing a hand on her shoulder. Hinata put a hand over her chest and stiffened. Her heart started beating more quickly. Sakura started to express her intense worry. Naruto.kun. Star Sapphire Haruno Sakura. Star Sapphire Hyuga Hinata. Surprised by their abrupt announcement, the two girls raised their rings. Subsequently, the two rings flashed and projected their combined lights into a much more detailed map of Konoha than before, and they spoke in unison. A power. Hungry human is placing an eternal love in jeopardy. The heart is being attacked in Sector 2814. A very specific location on the map was the focus of the signal's zoom. How? Sakura said, it's you, Hinata, with a smile. Your feelings for Naruto. They're allowing our rings to pinpoint where he is. Hinata looked again at the map. Her Byakugan activated without her having to speak, and she gripped her fists tightly. Rings, take us there, now. A brilliant beam of violet light burst from Hinata's heart, shooting out into the distance and back into the village as the rings echoed. 3 hearts attuned. Tether connected. Sakura smiled and said, let's go say hello to Root. They were about to leave, however, when they noticed a green blur fly by. Come. Sakura-san, Hinata-san, Naruto is waiting for us. Who? Lee? Sakura asked, staring. Following the trail of light their rings emitted from Hinata's chest, they raced after him. When they caught up, Hinata said, Lee-san, what are you doing? It's too dangerous, or something similar. Naruto-kun is my friend as well. It would be shameful if I didn't help him out too, Lee replied. The two of us are the only ones that stand a chance to get Naruto back. We may be going up against all of Anbu Root. Lee retorted, all the more reason I should join you, Sakura-san. He gave Sakura the thumbs up while glancing over his shoulder. I told you years ago, during our first Chunin exam. I'll protect you until the day I die, to protect those that are special to me. That's my Nindo. Emotional resonance confirmed. The three of them exclaimed, what the? Replacement located. Hinata's construct was abruptly breached by the green ring. It slipped into his middle right finder without warning. Rock Lee of the planet Earth. You have the ability to overcome great fear. Lee. Lee-san. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps. The warm glow of a bright light eased the pain in Naruto's extremities as he regained consciousness. When he opened his eyes, he saw that one pod was the source of the indigo light. When it calmed, he could see the coral and wood staff and its owner, Sai. Knock. Naruto lunged at Sai, nearly causing the bolted chair to come loose from its hinges. Naruto bellowed, you son of a bitch, out loud. What did you do to me? What did you do to my ring? Please calm down, Naruto-kun, Sai said to him, or you may alert the guards. Naruto responded with a shout, I don't give a damn. Do you have any idea what I've had to go through thanks to you? Sai said, I do, and I apologize, and bowed. I did not expect Danzo-sama to be so inhospitable to a fellow Konoha ninja. Naruto fought to free himself once more, but the binding jutsu held firm. To hell with your apologies, get me out of here. Sai stumbled for a second before saying, I cannot. I am not allowed to disobey Danzo-sama. Naruto spat, you can't or won't. Why do you still follow his orders anyway? You've seen what he'll do to get what he wants. When asked, I cannot say either, Sai replied. Then he parted his lips and extended his tongue. Naruto saw a seal tattooed on it just as he was ready to scream at him once more for the insult. Should I try to divulge information about Danzo-sama? This jutsu would immediately paralyze me completely. And if I were to disobey, I suspect it could even kill me. If you're feeling so sorry, Naruto replied, tell me at least if you know where my ring went. Sai shook his head and said, I'm sorry, I do not. My attack ceased your life signs just long enough for the ring to consider you deceased. While I healed you, the ring flew away to parts unknown. Naruto's anger turned to worry at this point. Sai just nodded. Gone? My ring, it's gone? After a few moments of staring at Sai, Naruto lowered his head. Sai kept going. I hope you do understand, Naruto-kun. I realize you do not know where it went, so I will see what I can do to release you sooner. Trash, murmured Naruto. Pardon, just remembered my very first lesson from Kakashi. Sensei, Naruto added. I guess I understand. You're just a ninja following orders. Knock, nodded Sai. I'm glad you. Naruto then raised his head and gave Sai a frightening glare that unnerved the root ninja. Those who break the rules and codes of the ninja world are called trash, that's what Kakashi Sensei told us on our very first training session, but then he said something else. Fear, said his ring. Those who don't take care of their comrades are worse than trash. Naruto, muttered Sai. From behind Sai, a voice said, awake once more, I see. In deference, the indigo lantern moved aside and dropped to one knee. Danzo came up behind him, followed by Aburame Torun. You seem rather vigorous. Naruto spat and glared at Sai again. Yeah, thank your lackey for that, he said. Danzo pursued his vision and inspected Sai, who stayed motionless. The remark, interesting. His ring's healing abilities do possess some merit if they were able to restore you despite Torun's poison, was made by curious Danzo. Once more, Torun stood beside Naruto, Sai stood behind his master, and Danzo moved forward and leaned in his direction. But there will be time for that later. Now, let's begin again. Where is the Green Lantern ring? He stiffened and awaited Torun's touch, saying, don't know. Doesn't matter anymore. Get it over with. It never did, much to his mild surprise. In a seemingly mild attempt at gentleness, Danzo asked him, why do you resist? Don't you understand? In the proper hands, this power ring could ensure the primacy of Konoha among the rest of the villages. No one would oppose us, not even Orochimaru or Akatsuki. I simply wish for the ring to be in more capable hands. Naruto speculated, and by that, I guess you mean you, right old man? Maybe I'm not the best ninja yet. But even if the ring hadn't picked me, it would pass you up in a heartbeat. You're just a greedy, cowardly old fart that hides in the shadows and lets his goons do the dirty work. All you want the ring for is for your own good, not Konoha's. What the hell do you know about sacrifice, fighting for what you believe, and willpower? Sacrifice? Asked Danzo again. I don't know sacrifice? Before he knew it, Naruto was flung back to the floor while still bound to the chair, which had been torn from its bolts by Danzo's powerful blow. Danzo was at his throat before he could grunt. The old man shouted, "You arrogant little brat. What do you know about sacrifice?" He opened his bare eye and glared at the blonde ninja with hatred. The old man's hands tightened around Naruto's throat, causing him to gasp for air as he continued. Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed, who I've lost, to ensure Konoha's safety? I watched my mentor, Naidame Sama, lose his life just to protect our lowly squad. I've turned dozens of capable ninjas into soulless weapons all in the service of the village. I've given my eye and arm to the gain of the leaf. Why did such a weapon choose a lowly, no-talent hack whose only purpose is to hold the Kyuubi? Tell me that, Uzumaki Naruto. Tell me. Danzo. Sama, if you continue, you may kill. Not another word. Danzo shouted at Sai as he turned around. His gaze then shifted back to Naruto. I've had enough of your insolence as well. If you question me again, I will rethink my decision to let you keep your own ring, he said, and as for you, Jinchuriki. As soon as a thin beam of violet light touched the boy's chest, he released Naruto. The light then slammed the old man's heart and sent him reeling. Tether targeted. Heartbreaker located. Taking a deep breath, Naruto coughed. Danzo said, "What?" Before the other ninjas in the group looked up. The chamber's enormous system of caverns, bridges, and central spire was revealed by a descending, glowing green flash. The three figures landed close to the group, cratered the ground as they descended, flanked by two violet sources of light. During the brightest day and the darkest night, my strength is fueled by my youth. To those who uphold fear and injustice, the green beast from Konoha will correct you. Thick brows. Naruto stared in amazement. Sakura and a very irate looking Hinata were separated by Rock Lee, who grinned and showed off the green lantern ring that was now on his right middle finger. Although he wore the same lantern uniform that Naruto had at first, he had a very different aura from the green lantern. As a roaring flame, Lee's pulsed and raged, its fiery dance lighting up the enormous chamber. Stop them! Shouted Danzo. Suddenly, dozens of masked Anbu root ninjas swarmed into the room, poised to strike. Lee was one of them, though, kicking, punching, and somersaulting the squadron so fast that everyone could only see blurs before even the first few started creating hand seals. Sakura questioned, "Are you alright, Naruto?" as Hinata severed his harnesses and defeated the jutsus that were imprisoning him. "Yeah. How'd Ida? We got your ring. Hinata and I were coming to rescue you when Lee joined up. Apparently it was enough for the ring to pick him in your stead." As Lee persisted in attacking the Anbu, Naruto looked on. Similar to his ninja abilities, he used the ring's enormous speed and strength boost to defeat his opponents without the use of any constructs. Naruto could not tell if he was incapable of making constructs or if he did not wish to. It didn't seem to matter. Lee's unrelenting attack claimed 3 roots for everyone that emerged. "You traitors!" exclaimed Danzo. "How dare you attack her?" He had to halt and avoid Hinata's impending blast. As she ran over Sakura and Naruto and almost crushed Danzo with a ball dot in. Chain construct, the Raven. Haired Sapphire swore, "If you harm Naruto-kun again, I won't forgive you." Insufferable little witch, Sai, do not let the Jinchuriki get away. Sai hesitated for a second before taking a slow step in the direction of Sakura and Naruto. Ei Musta. Sakura spat out, not one step closer, and called forth a flurry of kunai constructions. Lee angrily exclaimed, "Woohoo! Watch me, Guy. Sensei. The power of youth truly shines this day." As he swiftly advanced through Root's ranks. The Green Lantern's overpowered aura utterly dispelled the few ninjas who could use any kind of jutsu. Lee's attacks were directed at any jutsu caster a few seconds later. Warning. Willpower exceeding power ring capabilities. Power levels 23%. Danzo used his cane to block a palm strike from Hinata and said, "Do you have any idea who I am, little girl?" Danzo blocked her next attack with her right hand, but before he could counter, she called forth a crystal collar, wrapped it around his neck, and threw him face down to the ground. "I do. You're the one that ordered Naruto Kun's capture. That is enough for me. Sai said, please, Sakura-san, I do not wish to fight you, while he used a green shield to keep another wave of kunai away from her ring. Then stand down. I'm not backing off, she said, enclosing Sai in a coffin and snapping it close. Sai immediately made an impression by spreading an aura of indigo and green light that caused the prison to burst. He suddenly produced a large number of indigo, colored, artistically styled animals that surrounded Sakura and Naruto. I must follow Danzo Sama's orders. Forgive me, Sakura-san. Ninpo, I choju giga. I can fight, Sakura remarked. Leave this to me, Naruto. The jutsu beasts of Sai bounded forward. Sakura made spiked crystal knuckles for herself after encasing Naruto in a violet bubble. When a wolf lunged toward her, Sakura quickly punched it so forcefully that the animal vanished in a splatter of ink. While she was recuperating, a tiger lunged, but Sakura twisted in time to kick the construct in the stomach, causing it to instantly disappear. As each animal came closer, she ducked and retaliated, and even though Sai kept changing the technique, Sakura skillfully defeated the pack. Then Sai summoned a huge green bear and increased the pressure. Sakura clenched her knuckles and used her immense strength to strike his construct in the stomach, but to her surprise, the apparition held firm this time. What? Quickly finish this, Sai ordered. Sakura barely ducked under the bear construct's claw before it kicked it hard in the knees with a huge swing. The bear tried to crush Sakura by bucking but purposefully falling. Just above her, the violet lantern quickly conjured up a spiked shield construct that impaled the bear. When Sai waved his hand, his animal changed into a large, weighty squid that started to extend beneath Sakura's shield. You are surrounded, Sakura-san. According to Sai, I know of your construct's weakness and solidity. To which Sakura replied, you're right, they're not malleable, after saying, but no one said I couldn't improvise. More violet crystals grew around the shield, increasing its mass until the edges were razor sharp. Sakura skillfully cut the squid's tentacles, then grew the crystal spikes on the shield until they skewered Sai's construct completely. After dissolving, her construct disintegrated and reassembled into a replica of the predator. Let's see how much you really like animals. Someone stop him. Torun shouted to the few root ninjas that were still alive. Woo-ah-hhhh, exclaimed Lee. A single punch sent shockwaves of air and chakra all around him, and a single kick knocked down half a dozen ninjas. His speed and willpower tore through his opponents with such ferocity. Fu tried to cast a mental jutsu as best he could, but all he could do was follow the emerald blurs surrounding him. Torun, whose skin was already purple from the concentration of microscopic bugs on it, was able to grab the overloaded green lantern in an attempt to poison Lee after one fortunate ninja used the shadow bind jutsu to temporarily slow Lee down. AARRRGGHHH, Torun released Lee, who was pale and smoking all over, as the bugs were wiped out by the lantern's flaming aura. Lee exclaimed, that was too close. He turned his ring toward Torun and focused, saying, let's try this out. After 2 seconds, he released a weak, shabby-looking clone of Guy that rendered Torun unconscious. Warning. Will power exceeding power ring capabilities. Power level 16%. Danzo hissed, you insolent little Hyuga, and got to his feet, facing away from Hinata. If I had known you were capable of such treachery, I would have ordered you killed the moment you arrived at the hospital. Hinata retorted, your words are meaningless, we're taking Naruto-kun, and you will leave us alone from now on. Danzo said, you really have no idea what I'm capable of, don't you? Before allowing the bandages covering his left eye, which had already been ripped off by Hinata's earlier attack, to slide off and hit the floor, he turned around and said, you will regret ever having challenged me. Hinata thought, as that. The old man's chakra skyrocketed around the unwrapped eye as a result of her Byakugan ability. Sharingan! Exclaimed Danzo. As the 3 tomos surrounding his red eye started to spin, Hinata stepped back from the surprise. Hinata prepared herself as he inhaled deeply, Futon, Shinkagyoku. Hinata formed a wall of crystal in front of Danzo for protection as a powerful gust of wind erupted from her mouth. Nevertheless, the construct was bombarded by bullets of extremely dense air, some of which managed to get through due to attrition. Danzo inhaled deeply again as soon as the jutsu was over. Futon, Shinkua. Hinata was hurled by a slash of focused wind. When Danzo's attack finally caused her construct to break, the star sapphire flew up in time. He destroyed my crystal. How? Danzo remarked, you have no time to dawdle, girl, from directly behind her. Futon, she. Danzo halted and lifted his previously concealed right arm to deflect Lee's unexpected blow. His entire bandaged arm was covered in enormous gauntlets that were struck by the Green Lantern's leg. The root leader was protected, even with the lantern. Enhanced kick. The Sharingan sees all, boy. Even your new speed. Konoha Daisenpu. Lee whirled around and kicked Danzo in the face once more. As he spun, Danzo caught Hinata and threw her to his side, directly in Lee's path of attack. In a desperate attempt to stop himself, Lee struck Hinata below her ribs before realizing it. She cried out, "Gia," as she was hurled back down and then hit hard by the ground. Lee screamed, "Hinata-san," in horror at what he had done. Danzo was able to lariat Lee back to the ground by slamming his gauntlet onto him. Lee escaped, swung back in an instant, and charged at Danzo with a powerful punch to the right. Lee turned his arm just enough to aim the ring directly at Danzo's temple, but Danzo's Sharingan allowed him to foresee and block the blow. Gotcha. Lee gritted his teeth and gave the ring his all. Warning. Willpower exceeding power ring capabilities. Power level 7%. As I thought, said Danzo. The old ninja locked Lee's arm, twisted his own, and sealed it with a single one-handed motion. Despite your enthusiasm and resolve, your willpower is inadequate for the ring. Futon, Shinkagyoku. The air bullets smashed against Lee's chakra and lantern aura at point-blank range. Danzo's jutsu hit him hard, sending him crashing near Sakura, but the latter blunted the attack. Sakura hurried to his aid, shouting, "Lee-san." But Sai instantly surrounded her with a dense, solid force field of green and indigo light. Danzo remarked, "Good work, Sai, now, take all their rings and give them to me." "You damn fart." Suddenly, dozens of clones jumped at Danzo, but Danzo hit them all with a single blow, causing them to disappear in smoke. Between Danzo and a recuperating Hinata, the real Naruto stood defiantly and declared, "I'm not done with you yet, Jinchuriki. You're next." He said, "Damn it, Sai, can't you see it now?" To his old teammate. "You said we were friends. Are you really going to betray friends to this greedy bastard?" I'm of the foundation of the Leafa. You're breaking the very foundation of trust the Leaf stands for," Naruto begged. Danzo laughed and said, "You're really deluded, boy. The world of the ninja is one of emotionless battle. Only tools to be used to enforce peace. Sai knows that. You do not. Now, take their rings." Sai paused once more. "Give me their rings, Sai, now." Naruto begged, "Sai, you know better than this. Where's your compassion?" "Compassion, Danzo quickly sealed his hands together and said, "That's enough." With a silent gasp, Sai fell to the ground and gripped his throat. "Sai, what are you doing to him?" Danzo clenched his fingers and said, "A dulled tool is worthless, and must be discarded." Sai gasped once more. "Sai." The young root ninja's eyes exploded open, the Indigo tribe's symbol taking the place of his pupils. "Lur Auric Te Sai. Luca. Clock Ner, he said, his voice echoing from his mouth and ring. Sai protruded his tongue, which was covered in the expanded root seal of Danzo. His ring blasted a beam that formed a second seal on top of Danzo's as his hand quickly moved to his face. Danzo screamed, "You!" and rushed toward Sai. Quickly rising, the lantern stabbed the base of his staff to the floor, causing a shockwave that knocked his superior off balance. Sai extended the sphere that encased Sakura to include Naruto, Hinata, an unconscious Lee, and himself the moment Danzo landed in a kneeling position. Compassion locked. "No!" exclaimed Danzo. He ran in the direction of the lantern group, but they had already left by the time he took a third step. "You all right, thick brows?" Lee sat up blearily and rubbed his head. He looked up to see Naruto seated beside him, sporting the emerald power ring and his Green Lantern uniform once more. "Naruto-kun, when did you?" "I'm back, I guess. The ring picked me again when you passed out." Lee remarked, "That was some serious power, Naruto-kun," as he looked down. Naruto urged, "Hey, don't be like that. You kicked some major butt with it. When first find the core, I'll put in a good word for you." As Lee looked past Naruto, he saw Sai floating in midair with his back to the others and Sakura and Hinata standing and conversing. He noticed that they were in a little clearing in the forest. He inquired, "Where are we?" Naruto informed him, "Somewhere outside Konoha." Sai sorta I dunno, teleported us out of Danzo's lair. Sai said, "We took us to safety," in a more serious tone. "Danzo would have captured us all, and taken the lights for himself." "That doesn't sound like Sai-kun, Lee said. "We are still Sai," was his response. "But we are also much more." Sai's compassion faltered upon conflict with his lifelong duty. But our duty to the light, and to all life, is above the petty interests of a single human. Sakura concluded, "You are the Indigo Ring?" The Indigo Lantern said, "That's right, Star Sapphire," and nodded. "There is much to do to prevent the dark vision your sister in light saw from coming to pass." "Never mind that," objected Naruto. "Let Sai go now." Sai said, "Slow down, Green Lantern. We shall, once the time is right." Lee questioned, "What is that supposed to mean?" Sai must learn the true nature of compassion before he is fully prepared. "We will see to that," the ring stated. After flowing from Sai's indigo pod, a dense mist formed a screen that projected an image of 7 rings, each representing a different symbol. "The rest of you have another important task ahead of you. Like your rings, we were damaged as we emerged into this world. But we know that all 7 lights have come, and will soon choose their lanterns if they have not done so already. Green, indigo, violet and yellow are accounted for," Sakura stated. "What about the others?" Hinata went on, "And the entities? They too? The red ring has almost certainly chosen a bearer. Such is the gripping nature of rage. The orange light of avarice will similarly seek a suitable owner. And like your entity of love, a strong presence may evoke the awakening of the other emotional embodiments." Naruto inquired, "What do you want to do?" "I say we go find these other bad lanterns and kick their butts. You 3 have another important task. The final light will not choose a bearer lightly, for they must possess a deep resolve for the sacredness of life. Seek out the blue light of hope. Only then, united, will we be ready." "Ready for what?" joked Naruto. "Why can't you rings talk any sense?" The indigo mist engulfed Sai, and he vanished in a flash of light. "We sympathize with your frustration. Perhaps once the lights are gathered, we may answer. For now, we must take our leave. Remember our counsel. Farewell, fellow lanterns." The dark forest was abandoned to the 4 ninjas. "Okay, so where do we start looking?" To put it mildly, the flight was uneventful. Deidara was still arguing whether to be more upset about Toba's betrayal or Itachi's newfound strength, and Kisame was unusually silent for his typically talkative demeanor. Even though Madara was killed, Deidara had a difficult time letting go of the grudge. "This is boring," thought Deidara. He looked sideways at his new partner, who was sitting motionless and quiet on top of the clay owl Deidara had made for them. "How are we supposed to find a guy who can fly between the countries in a hop and a skip, HN?" he asked. Vainly, they were searching for their old colleague while flying over a large lake that was encircled by a foggy marsh. "You still fuming over what that bastard did, HN?" "Don't blame you. I hated his guts since the first time I met him, HN." Whispering, "Hate him?" Kisame asked. He caught Deidara by the cloak in one motion and drew him near. He growled, "Don't belittle me, you fruit. Itachi didn't just betray Akatsuki. I trusted the son of a bitch. He betrayed ME. And I'm going to kill him for it. I'll feed him his own eyes and shove that ring finger where the sun doesn't shine, and then I'm going to skin him alive." According to Deidara, "Whoa, easy, Kisame-san, no argument there," as he raised his mouthed hands. Kisame growled once more before yanking his new partner away. "I want to see the bastard suffer too, HN." Deidara adjusted the collar of his cloak. "So then, how do we go about it once we find him?" According to Kisame, "I don't care. Figure something out and point me in the right direction. Whatever Itachi does, I will kill him." "Can you believe pain? Not a good time, Hidan." Hidan frowned as his foot sank into a mushy pocket of mud. "Bah, it's never a good time with you, isn't it, Kakuzu? It's always, shut up, Hidan, this, shut up, Hidan, that. Damn this swamp," says Hidan. Hidan and Kakuzu's team crossed a foul smelling swamp that smelled of decomposition. Their cloaks were soaked in sweat and swamp water due to the humidity, which made the afternoon sun nearly unbearable. "Zetsu better be damn right about this shortcut to the sound, or else I'm going to kill him oh so slowly." Kakuzu grumbled, "That's an annoying one. Track mind. Everything's about death with you." "Of course. As a loyal servant of Jashin Sama, it is my sacred duty to kill all my enemies without mercy." "Faye. That cult of yours could find better things to do with your time and skills." "And do what? Pillage and steal for money. You don't get to bring cash to the world of the dead, Kakuzu." When asked, "I don't plan to," his partner replied. "Just like you, I intend to live forever." "Oh, joy," Hidan said with a grimace. "Spend an eternity partnered with you. I can hardly wait. Keep it up, and I might just figure out a way to kill you. On that day, Jashin Sama will be especially pleased when I deliver your corpse to his feet." A voice said, "Your god will have to wait a while," from the left of the pair. Glancing sideways, Hidan and Kakuzu noticed Zetsu's black and white figure emerging from a mangrove tree. I've traced Uchiha Sasuke's chakra. You will find him 2 kilometers northeast from this location. Finally, mumbled Hidan. I should warn you, his chakra seems erratic. Whatever Orochimaru did to him, I can't say if he's stronger or weaker, Zetsu continued. Kakuzu complained, how troublesome. Let's just get this over with. Itachi moved slowly across the grassy terrain, his aura subdued to draw minimal attention. It gave him time to reflect, too. He had a lot on his mind. His ring said, Uchiha Itachi. Report, I see you've returned, Sinistro, Itachi had answered. Were you inconvenienced in your arrival into this dimension? Have you had any further contact with the Green Lantern? Sinistro asked after a short silence. A minor squabble. Nothing for you to concern yourself with. No, Itachi replied, setting aside for the time being his own misgivings regarding Sinistro's location. However, I have heard rumors of different colored rings finding bearers. I see. Which core? Unknown. Be wary of them all, Sinistro advised. Rage and greed are too volatile to be trusted, and the rest seek to extinguish fear. Itachi retorted, fear is the most powerful force in the universe, ignoring Sinistro's barely audible, evil chuckle, and putting aside any question as to why he said that, he continued, they will pose no threat. You sound awfully certain of yourself, Earthman, berated Sinistro. According to Itachi, as should you, Sinistro, you have witnessed my handiwork already, and I'm certain my ring has given you abundant information about my past deeds. Indeed. And I await this new opportunity for you to again prove your worth. Oh, you do realize you are being stalked? Itachi came to a halt and remained motionless over the grassland. Of course I do. I knew since before we even began speaking. Sinistro's voice trailed off from the ring as a huge column of water rose from the earth below and completely engulfed Itachi. Then do your duty to fear, Corman. I will observe your performance with much interest. Itachi was automatically covered by his aura, which also gave him oxygen to breathe, but the raging currents threw him around wildly in the crashing, growing waves. Itachi concentrated his thoughts, grew fins out of his aura, and then shot straight up. He was initially able to move more freely thanks to the new shape, but he was unable to flee as the mass of water rose with him. Itachi remarked, I know you're there, Kisame, why prolong the inevitable death? He was interrupted when a big figure sprang at him and hit the fin of his left arm. Itachi saw that the construct had been torn off entirely, even though the shape had just missed his arm. He glanced quickly at the breaking point's markings. Teeth. Marks. A massive, muscular, gray, shark-shaped humanoid swam gracefully in front of Itachi, oblivious to the raging currents. So this is what fear tastes like? Itachi asked. Kisame swam directly at Itachi, who quickly constructed a net and encircled Kisame, saying, I want more. After a few seconds, the mutated human tore the construct to pieces with his enormous muscles. Itachi took the time to encircle his opponent with a number of orcas. Kisame outswam the killer whales and hurried the lantern with more speed than his size would suggest. He was only able to move just enough to evade Kisame's attack because of the water currents. Itachi quickly called forth a water turbine to deflect Kisame's next pass, which he skillfully turned and made. Itachi remarked, not bad, observing the pile of small clay krill that Kisame dropped in front of him following every attack. Finally, now you get to learn. My art is a bang. The krill exploded as soon as it was said. Just as the explosive shockwave, supported by the liquid medium, tore through all of Kisame's jutsu and swallowed the lantern at its core, Kisame swam out of the top of the sphere. As the momentum continued to arc upward, Kisame turned and bolstered the jutsu, causing the explosive shockwave to bounce back to the center, where it collided once more. Itachi vanished in a raging conflagration of smoke and water that obfuscated Kisame's jutsu entirely. Perched atop his clay owl, Deidara inquired, did we get him, HN? Kisame responded, doubtful, as he started to revert to his jutsu. But that should at least put a dent on him. Prep some more of those bombs of yours, while I. Kiro Amaterasu. The water globe's center erupted in bright yellow flames adorned with black silhouettes. The liquid's outer regions thermally expanded, the inner parts boiled, and the flames spread, burning anything they came into contact with. The sphere erupted into jets of the otherworldly fire that headed directly for Deidara. Just as the fire swiftly and thoroughly consumed the owl, making the explosive clay incapable of detonating, the ninja barely managed to escape his creature in time. Just as the last of the water was boiling or burning off, Kisame also escaped the expanding black and yellow fire inside the water globe and dashed outside. The two ninjas from Akatsuki fell in the direction of the open ground. Deidara and Kisame were buffeted and forced to the center of where Kisami's jutsu had once hovered by violent winds that rushed towards them just as Itachi's jutsu finally dissipated. The air rushed past them, out of their reach, and they gasped for air as they closed in. To their dismay, they discovered that the upgraded Amaterasu had accomplished more than just boiling and burning the water. The conflagration had consumed every molecule in the flame's path, including water, dirt, and even the air itself. Within the radius of the fire, there was nothing but a void, nothing at all. Anything but the caster of the jutsu. As tight hands clutched their throats and fierce winds whipped around them to fill the emptiness, Deidara and Kisame found themselves together. Itachi held them in place with ease and loomed menacingly in front of them, unharmed. He was grinning as well. Then he licked his lips and said, "And it's exquisite. Let the feast begin. I can taste your fear," he hissed. "He is near," Kakuzu said in a whisper to his companion. "I can sense his chakra." Hidan went on, "I smell blood in the air. It smells horrible, but fresh. He must have killed something recently." Kakuzu concurred, "You're right, it stinks worse than this whole swamp." The two stalked their prey with the greatest care, walking as silently as they could. Sasuke would have been a dangerous opponent who should be avoided if he had previously been able to kill Orochimaru. Hidan was the first to spot their target. He gestured for Kakuzu to pause and look over a stand of towering bushes. Sasuke was crouched over a crocodile's shattered and disfigured body. Its chest cavity was torn open, and its intestines were scattered across the bloody mud and grass. Sasuke reached down and bit the raw flesh after clawing at the dead beast almost frantically. With a guttural snarl, he tore off a piece of meat and ate it whole. Without a sound, Hidan mouthed, "Now that is something Jashin Sama would approve of." The two watched their target more intently now, and Kakuzu gave him a look that made it obvious to Hidan, "You disgust me." He was wearing a skin tight black and red costume that did not appear to get stained even by the bloody splattering of Sasuke's feast. Kakuzu sensed that with every chew and movement, the boy's chakra levels slightly changed. They suspected that he had a level 2 curse seal because of his long hair and the skeletal wings that protruded from his back. However, Hidan was the first to notice something on Sasuke's right hand. He noticed the gleam of a red ring on his middle finger as his arm swung to claw at the dead crocodile once more. He couldn't resist exclaiming, "He's a lantern," out loud. The two ninjas barely escaped the conflagration of fire and blood that erupted from Sasuke's mouth as he suddenly turned toward them. The soil bubbled and nearly melted at the touch of the foul liquid, and the decaying vegetation burst into flames despite the moisture. As Hidan landed on a moldy tree branch, he concluded, "Those fires Zetsu mentioned. It was the kid all along." Sasuke was ahead of him the moment his feet touched the wood. R-A-R-R-R-R. The red lantern shot down, barely missing Hidan, tearing apart the branch. After bouncing off another nearby tree trunk, the latter aimed his enormous triple-edged scythe at Sasuke. The boy leapt in midair, landing on the blunt side of the scythe and running up the rope directly toward Hidan, propelled by some unearthly strength. Futon, Atsugai. Hidan and Sasuke were both violently tossed by Kakuzu's massive blast of wind. Branches and leaves fell from their trees and joined the chaos. Hidan gripped as tightly as he could, digging his weapon into a thick bark. Initially losing control, Sasuke suddenly stopped and hovered in place, seemingly unaffected by Kakuzu's jutsu, as his skeletal wings spread out and his red aura flared. He snarled, "Grr." The red lantern unleashed a torrent of flame, aiming his ring at the still, chaotic air. Kakuzu's wind fanned the red light of Rage's living fires, creating a bloated inferno that nearly killed the jutsu caster and ate Hidan in the swamp. Hidan was covered in acid after Kakuzu landed on a patch of wet mud. Hidan exclaimed, "Damn, this stuff burns." Hearing his opponents, Sasuke lunged in their direction. The red lantern landed with such force that he shattered the earth and sent debris flying all around him after the two leapt out of the way. With a cry of, "Suijin, Suijinheki," Kakuzu cupped his right hand over his now open mouth, causing a stream of water to pour down on the young Uchiha. Sasuke and the flaming swamp were soaked by the wave as it spread out in all directions. Hidan threw himself into the battle, making sure to get wet all over. He exclaimed, "Shit! This stuff still burns." The water diluted the lantern's crimson acid, but the individual patches and droplets continued to burn. Kakuzu pondered, "So this is the power of a lantern," as Sasuke shot straight up and out of the torrent. Pain was right to suggest caution. "This guy is really annoying me," Hidan continued. "Kakuzu, don't you dare go easy on this bastard." Never planned to. Hiden ninjutsu, Jangu. Kakuzu made a variety of hand seals at this point. Sasuke snarled from above as the masked ninja's back started to bubble and churn. The Red Lantern let out a torrent of flaming fury from his ring with a defiant roar. When Kakuzu had to dodge the latest attack, his back stopped moving. "I need a moment, Hidan." "Get over here, you little prick." Hidan threw his scythe at Sasuke, who ducked under it and then shot straight at his assailant. He was so angry that he didn't notice when Hidan pulled at the rope that connected the scythe. When the triple-bladed weapon closed in on the unaware lantern, Hidan sneered as it whipped back towards the long-haired boy. "Gra!" Sasuke exclaimed, startled, as Hidan's weapon struck his back. Though they bit into Sasuke's skin, the bladed edges dulled and cracked against his churning force field, preventing the berserk lantern from being sliced in two. "Lucky bastard," scowled Hidan. "Don't worry, I plan to enjoy every second of rage." Sasuke shouted, "RRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRR Sasuke pinned the Akatsuki ninja with his weight and by continuing to fly down against the ground as his body crumpled to the ground. Hidan's face was smashed into the compacting soil as the rabid boy repeatedly punched and clawed at him, tearing off skin and shattering bones. Sasuke's suit and face were covered in splatters of Hidan's blood, which also saturated the surrounding area to the point where the earth was soaked. Die! Hissed the red lantern ring. Hidan gurgled through a crushed windpipe. For once. Wish I. The possessed boy's jaws widened, and a stream of flaming blood was ready to pour out at his defenseless adversary. Doden. Domu. Sasuke was slammed into by a swarm of black tendrils, each as hard as a diamond, sent him crashing onto the rotten tree's withered trunk, which collapsed on top of the young ninja. As much as I'd like to see him dead, I swore I'd be the one to do it, kid, Kakuzu said. Four hideous, throbbing monstrosities made of black tendrils, each wearing a lavish mask, surrounded Kakuzu and peered ominously at the location where Sasuke fell. Get up! I know you have more of a fight in you than that. The fallen tree exploded in a flash of crimson fury, seemingly in response to the older ninja's order. With a defiant roar, Sasuke launched himself directly at his new foe. The mouths of two of the masked thread beasts opened. A tiny candle, like flame, emerged on one, while the opening on the other emitted a slight wind hiss. The wind elemental launched its attack first, saying, "No more flying." The approaching Sasuke was buffeted by terrifying hurricane. Force winds, and the abrupt gusts and turbulent air currents caused its flight path to falter. The land was bared by the wind, which also carried water, vegetation, and loose rocks into the whirlpool. Burn! A huge column of orange flames erupted from the fire elemental. Encouraged and fueled by the wind, it expanded into a huge fire that engulfed Sasuke in its rage and devoured the loose debris. Kakuzu, you bast! Hidan could not finish because his broken body was also devoured by the combined jutsus. You'll live, sneered Kakuzu. With his fist encased in flaming black and red lightning bolts, Sasuke jumped out of the fire unscathed, saying, "You always do." This kid, on the other hand. Well damn. A tight, compact ball of pure lightning met the roaring lantern's attack as another of Kakuzu's puppets leapt between Sasuke and its master. In a fierce struggle that lasted a moment, pure chakra cracked against corrupted chakra. Sasuke's charged hand rushed towards the construct's head as the dark mixture of red light and cursed chakra swiftly overpowered it. The earth beast drove a tentacle-filled fist into the rabid boy's face just an inch before the tips of the red lantern's fingers ripped through the abomination's mask. The lightning beast fell to the ground after Sasuke's blow sliced through its side but missed its mask. Kakuzu remarked, "That ring is really something, brat." With a heavy breath, Sasuke stood up, crouched against the scorched ground, and declared, "I've broken through solid steel with that jutsu." According to the elder ninja, the ring makes you powerful, true, but it also turns you into a stupid, mindless animal. As Sasuke struck the ground with his ring fist. Frustrated already? You're mine, boy. As long as you don't hit me, I will eventually death. The earth and wind monsters were engulfed in a torrent of flaming red acid as the ground abruptly split open. Kakuzu barely managed to dodge the crimson light fountain by leaping back in time with his other two constructs. However, the ground beneath him exploded and released another burst of red lantern energy as the elderly ninja touched down. Another geyser trailed behind Kakuzu as he retreated once more. Before long, there wasn't much space left to escape the assault. When Kakuzu clasped his hands together, the two beasts that were left blended back into him. Just as the former summon's tendril bodies spread out into web. Like wings, Kakuzu leapt to a great height. Kakuzu hovered just above the near volcanic hell below, powered by powerful flaps. Hidan coughed, his body regenerating painfully but not fast enough to prevent the rising flood of rage that engulfed him. "You selfish son of a," he said. Kakuzu instinctively grew his right arm and thrashed it behind him like a powerful whip, asking, "He used his ring underground? If he's not as dumb as I thought." He made the right guess, but the flying Sasuke ducked beneath the enormous black arm before the sudden attack could reach him. The lantern severed Kakuzu's arm with a single, skillful sweep of his skeletal wings. Sasuke's right hand was covered in red lightning, and the much older shinobi grunted and watched helplessly. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr diaphragm and out of his back. The electricity gushing from the Chidori caused Kakuzu's whole body to tense, and he coughed up black ichor mixed with dark blood. Then, using his free hand to grab Kakuzu by the neck, Sasuke plunged into the slowly growing pool of repulsive red lantern energy. Monster Ayua that Ringa forged in Hela, began Kakuzu as the two lowered themselves. Sasuke left a large, bleeding hole in the injured ninja's chest after pulling his right arm back out of him. The boy snarled once more and tried to hit Kakuzu in the head. Gray RGH, Sasuke flinched as a sharp pain shot through his stomach. He instinctively covered his stomach with both arms when 3 bleeding wounds appeared nearby. Released from the Red Lantern's hold, Kakuzu used his last remaining tendril arm to seize a charred tree by the trunk and pull himself to safety. Sasuke plunged headlong into the raging abyss of hatred he had stoked. He heard a laugh coming from his side as he surfaced. Hidan mockingly said, "Forgot about me, asshole?" from outside the lake of flaming blood. Sasuke looked at the other ninja, who had a sharp spear in his left hand and had sunk his scythe into his stomach. Despite the fact that his entire body was scorched, including parts of his hands and fingers that had been burned to bone or muscle, he defied the Red Lantern. Hidan stood inside a plain circle with a triangle inscribed on it. His face and skin were now black and covered in white tattoos. "I figured out your secret. That acid puke of yours is also blood. Let me tell you, it was a bitch to drink, but I did. Thank Jashin Sama for my healing factor, and for this ritual. You're dead, brat." Despite the pain, Sasuke got to his feet and snarled at Hidan. The latter noticed the wounds were starting to heal. Sasuke lunged at Hidan, but the elder ninja quickly raised his left arm and prepared the spear. "You can heal fast too, huh? I'd prefer to enjoy your pain further, punk, but I'll settle for your death. Die." Hidan then stabbed him in the heart with his spear. Gra. Sasuke.kun. Cold sweat soaked Haruno Sakura's face and ordinary clothes as she awoke with a start. The panic caused by the hazy images she saw in her nightmares caused her to breathe quickly and shallowly. Naruto, to her left, complained in his bed, rolled over to his side, and immediately dozed off again with a loud snore. Behind her, Hinata remained motionless and slept soundly to her right. Silently, Sakura got up and made her way to the restroom. It was the evening following their escape from the Konoha lair of the Anbu route. The 3 lanterns followed Sai's advice and started looking for the Blue Ring of Hope while Lee went back to the village to inform the Hokage of Danzu's schemes and report back on their behalf. They looked all over the Fire Country in one day and found nothing. When Naruto's ring charge was almost exhausted, the group used the money they had left to secure a room in a small inn for the night. As soon as the sun came up, they intended to resume their search in the Wind Country. However, all of their plans were overruled a few moments ago by Sakura's visions. The Predator's host turned on the faucet and used lukewarm water to wash her face. She relaxed just enough from the sensation to get her concentration back and recall her nightmare more vividly. She dreamed, as usual, of Sasuke training under Orochimaru and succumbing to the malevolent Sannin. But she had gloomy thoughts in her dreams tonight. She experienced an all-consuming fury that utterly overwhelmed his hatred of Itachi and unleashed something much more terrible onto the world. She could practically hear the pounding of her heart. Sakura gasped and spun around, aiming her ring behind her directly into Hinata's face. "Sakura-san?" she asked. As she raised her hands, the Hyuga girl said, "Calm down, Sakura-san." Sakura lowered her ring arm and sighed. "Hinata, I'm sorry." The other star Sapphire, "It's alright," replied. "I'm sorry I startled you. Is something wrong?" "Nothing," the woman said. Hinata said, "Please don't do that," sneering at her deception. This time, Sakura chose to put a hand on her own shoulder and lower her head rather than say anything. "Even without my ring, it's obvious something is bothering you. Is it Sasuke-kun?" "How did you know?" Sakura inquired in a neutral, unsurprising tone. Hinata acknowledged, You look the same as I do when I worry about Naruto-kun, as she looked at their loudly snoring companion. Sakura said, something's happened to him, to her fellow lantern. Looking first at Hinata and then at Naruto, she said, I can feel it, even without my ring's help. She sniffed. I'm so selfish, she said. We have a mission, a duty to our lights, and to find the blue light of Hopi, and here I am, only thinking about Sasuke. Kuna. A star sapphire does not ignore what lies in the heart, said Hinata. What? The other girl clarified, that's what my ring told me before choosing me, what does yours want? Sakura fell silent for a moment, but she quickly came to the conclusion Hinata had already foreseen. I have to help him, Buddha. Hinata cut in, then there is nothing else to be said, Naruto-kun and I will find the blue lantern. Do what your heart compels you to do, Sakura-san. What the entity of love chose you for. Sakura contemplated her choice for a few moments while gazing at Hinata. She mentally recited Hinata's words once more, and her ring gave her just enough confidence to help Sakura decide. With a smile, she addressed Hinata, saying, and here I thought I was the more decisive of us two. Sakura-san. It's not. I mean. Sakura joked, there's the Hinata I used to know. A comforting hand was placed on Hinata's shoulder by Sakura, who said, but the more decisive you are very welcome. Promise me you'll look after Naruto. Hinata nodded and grinned at her fellow star sapphire, I promise. The two girls left the restroom after saying that. Sakura opened the room's only window and gazed up at the night sky, being careful not to wake Naruto. She shut her eyes and concentrated all of her feelings and thoughts on Sasuke. This is, star sapphire Haruo Sakura, according to her ring. An eternal love is in jeopardy. The heart is being attacked in sector 2814. I know, muttered Sakura. Her clothes changed into her star sapphire uniform as she opened her eyes once more. Take me there, now. Two hearts attuned. Tether connected. Sakura's heart sent out the same beam that had followed Naruto for Hinata the day before, but this time it raced off into the night sky and into the distance. Sakura took off after him. A groggy Naruto said, was that? It's nothing, Naruto-kun. Hinata made him feel. Just go back to bed. K. Without further prodding, Naruto immediately fainted once more and started snoring loudly. Before she lay down, Hinata glanced back out the window and murmured, good luck, Sakura-san. She then walked back to her bed. Ooh, that's the stuffa. Hidan trailed off, his whole body shaking from the pain he was experiencing and the death of Sasuke. Hidan groaned with each shiver as the mixture permitted by his unholy ritual sent waves of sadistic pleasure through his entire body. Kakuzu hobbled slowly toward his partner after gathering his severed arm and using a leaking mass of tentacles to seal the hole in his chest. I swear, you sound like you just creamed Yura. Shut the hell up, Kakuzu. Hidan grunted and tore the spear from its place in his chest. His wounds were taking longer to heal, but his skin had returned to normal and the tattoos had vanished. Is he dead? Hidan stated, no one survives being stabbed in the heart. He approached the motionless, slouched Sasuke and gave him a shoulder stab wound. There was no response from the Red Lantern. See? When Kakuzu said, we should still take his body, the much older ninja held out his free arm, and more tendrils feigned weakness. Even though Pain wanted him alive, his carcass may still phase Itachi enough for the rest to subdue him. Some targeted Sasuke's red ring, but the majority entangled him. Hidan questioned, what the hell are you doing? The response was, ignoring Pain, Kakuzu said. His organic ropes touched the ring, and he said, orders or no orders, I want his ring. He almost cost me my collection of elemental hearts. I will not leave empty-handed. Babum. Rage. The tendrils that encircled Sasuke were burned away as his aura burst into life. He nearly sliced Hidan's torso in half with a swipe of his skeletal wings, and he severed more of Kakuzu's tendrils. The two Akatsuki barely escaped the torrent of boiling blood that poured from Sasuke's frothing mouth as he stood up. Kakuzu screamed at his partner, you said he was dead, as he fought to keep what appeared to be his intestines inside his stomach. He should be. I've still got the hole in my heart to prove it. Avoiding another plasma spray, Kakuzu used a feeble water jutsu to counter the torrent. Curse him again. Cut off his head if you have to. I plan to do better, revealed Hidan. He ran to where some of the blood from Sasuke's rage had mingled with Kakuzu's water and quickly took a mouthful. Kakuzu was happy to see his partner's skin darken and the tattoos return, but he saw him wince as the acid burned his throat. His voice was raspy as he told Kakuzu, Jashin, this stuff is searing. Buy me a few seconds while I prepare the rest of the ritual. Kakuzu grumbled, Easy for you to say, but he still gave in. In an attempt to divert the Red Lantern's attention, he struck Sasuke with a burst of wind. To his astonishment, Sasuke stumbled when he launched the assault. He taunted, "That super healing of yours has its limits, boy." Sasuke quickly tackled him, pinning him to a charred tree bark. Then the Red Lantern stabbed Kakuzu in the abdomen with his left fist. Kakuzu cried out, "Argh," as Sasuke tore into his chest cavity and through his internal organs. When the boy took hold of one of his hearts, he felt both fear and agony. "Got you," shouted Hidan. Immediately, Sasuke's right hand and ring fell from his wrist and onto the bare ground. Sasuke let go of Kakuzu's heart, clutched the bleeding stump, and let out an unholy cry that made Kakuzu and Hidan shudder. Kakuzu had never heard what he could only describe as the agonized roar of a demon drenched in holy light in all his long years. Shortly thereafter, Sasuke firmly grasped his chest with his free hand. Kakuzu shouted, "His heart again? I told you to cut off his head," to his partner. "I only got the bastard's hand," Hidan retorted, clutching his own right stump for a moment. The elder ninja commanded, "Just kill him. Kill him now while we have the chance." With ragged, deep breaths, Sasuke dropped to his knees, and Hidan brought his triple bladed scythe up to his own neck. Tether targeted, heartbreakers located. Hidan was about to cut his own throat when two intense violet light beams struck each Akatsuki squarely in the heart. Two crystal prisons instantly surrounded and immobilized the two. As he collapsed, Sasuke barely looked up to see a female form in a violet suit descend upon the charred battlefield and race towards him. His chest hurt more than the red ring could, and his breath was getting weaker. "Sasuke-kun," was the final word he heard before the deep darkness completely overcame his senses and mind, which had been starved of the life sustaining blood of his now ruined heart and the severed red ring. "Pathetic. I expected the two of you to at least put up a bit of a fight before my inevitable victory." Itachi loomed over Kisame and Deidara's unconscious, fallen forms. Itachi hovered over them unharmed, but their cloaks were ripped, burned, and scarred. "Well done, 2814, said Itachi's ring. "Your combination of the ring's power with your innate skills gives you quite an advantage." "It's too simple," Itachi remarked. "The power of fear and the Uchiha clan combined is enough to lay waste to all. Do not expect the same ease once we expand my core to the stars. You will face challenges your mind cannot yet comprehend. But for now, just complete your duty." Itachi continued to aim the yellow ring at the unconscious pair, making it shine brighter. He focused more energy into the ring and clenched his ring fist. He remained motionless for a while. "What are you waiting for? Kill them, and be done with it." Must there be more death? Consider this a final test of your loyalty, Earthman, now do it." The ring created its own construct as though it were following Sinistro's instructions. Itachi discovered that his right hand was gripping a jagged, golden katana blade. The sight of the sword made him twitch slightly, and his thoughts went back to years ago when he had stabbed his own parents in the back with a similar blade. He said in a barely audible whisper, "Is this all I am? A thoughtless tool for death?" "I heard that," said the ring. "You are a member of the Sinistro Corps. You are my instrument of fear. What I will, my core does. How different is that from your former duties to your little village?" "I kill." Itachi held the katana in front of him, both hands gripping the hilt. The smallest tremble from Itachi's own shaking would be visible to Deidara and Kisame if they were awake. "Kill them. Do your duty, Corpsman. Obey me. Kill them." The katana was raised above Itachi's head by his arms, his aura blazed. "Stop it. Obey. Kill them." Deidara was struck by the katana. "No." Deidara's clay left arm was severed at the last second when the sword shifted to the side. "You dare disobey me," growled Sinistro. Itachi shouted back, "I am no longer anyone's puppet." Suddenly, with a grunt, he stooped and fell to his knees. He grasped his head by the temples, but this did little to ease the excruciating pain. Itachi nearly passed out, keeping himself kneeling with one arm while futilely supporting his aching head with the other. Sinistro's insulting voice came from the ring. "I should have known better than to place my faith in a pink skin," he said. "Ring, obey your true master." The voice on the ring read, "Override activated, now." Beside Deidara, the katana construct arose from the earth and positioned itself over Itachi's neck. "What?" A moment later, the katana swung to sever Itachi's head. "I will find a better use for your ring. Die, cowardly Earthman," it cried. "No." Itachi's entire body glowed as three voices, including his own, echoed in unison. Despite the pain, Itachi felt the ring's control return to him as the light broke the katana construct into nothingness. Impossible! Itachi shouted, "Leave me alone!" As he stood and leapt into the air. A trail of golden light faded behind him as he shot straight up high into the sky. He kept going until he was no longer visible. The meadow where the one-sided battle had taken place moments before was once again calm. The unconscious bodies of Kisame and Deidara stayed motionless, unaware of what had just transpired. After several minutes, Deidara started to awaken. He could only open his eyes slightly, still too weak to move or speak. He saw two yellow boots between himself and Kisame, and as his vision cleared a little, he saw the outline of a man with purple hands and a uniform similar to Itachi's. The man remarked, "Such a waste," from somewhere Deidara couldn't identify. A voice said, "I thought I told you not to kill anyone?" "Your concern for his life is touching," the man said with a sarcastic shrug. Deidara attempted to turn his head to look more closely at his observer, but his migraine made it difficult to see clearly. At least the Earthman's failure is not a total loss. "So you want to go ahead with it, then? Do you think you can fully control them?" "You doubt me? We'll see. For now I have to help Itachi. Something's wrong with him. I'd ask you to do it, but we both know that's not going to happen." As the man spoke, Deidara felt him place something cold to the touch on his middle finger. "I suspect nothing is wrong with him, as you will no doubt find out soon enough." In the meantime, Deidara noticed it was a ring that resembled Itachi's when he did the same to Kisame. He gave himself permission to smile weakly. Deidara felt his strength return, and more. Deidara and Hoshigaki Kisame of Sector 2814. "You have the ability to instill great fear." He saw their benefactor's face, a purple-hued man with short mustache and pitch-black hair, after his vision was fully restored. "According to Sinistro, you belong to my corps." After a slow journey, Pain and Conan were finally arriving at their destination. Conan reminded herself that Pain was not taking any chances. He rarely brought out all 6 paths and went on a mission by himself. The human path stated, if Zetsu was right, we should be approaching the Yonbi. Conan asked no one in particular, how far? She was accustomed to her comrade's name being randomly answered by any path. "Close," said the Diva path. "It should be just on the next clearing." Nagato resisted, and the Diva and Preta paths remained with Conan as he walked on. So did Conan. The other paths continued on their own. The Rinnegan's method allowed Nagato to see as the group emerged from the forest and arrived at a rock outcropping that overlooked a cliff face. Following Nagato's instructions, each of the 4 paths turned to look for their target on their own. The 4 were only a few seconds after they parted when they heard a loud crack. When the paths turned to face the source of the sound, they discovered that a portion of the cliff had fallen, and the area where the rock had broken was covered in smoke and dust. Shortly thereafter, the motionless body of an elderly man with red hair and beards fell, opportunely, directly on the animal path's feet. He asked, "The Yonbi Jinchuriki?" An orange glow caught his attention before Nagato, Conan, or the other paths could respond. An army of orange phantasms, both human and non-human, rose and hovered menacingly beyond the edge of the cliff, visible to Nagato and all 4 paths. Nagato instantly recognized the final apparition that rose last. Orochimaru exclaimed, "He is mine, and now, you are too."
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.